Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are again, another week of combatants right here on the TKN Celebrity Tournament. And this is your boy Stevie Ray giving his prediction again this week. Heavyweights, ladies and gentlemen. Heavyweights, 4 heavyweights this week. Only 3 can move forward. Only 3 can move forward. We got 4 heavyweights, and ladies and gentlemen, just get started. Number 1 on the list, Film Director Mick Garris. Yes, Film Director. They don't play, they're heavy hitters. Number 2 on the list, Major League Baseball and football combatant, Mr. Brian Jordan. He's going to be here. I don't know if he's going to be running the football or catching the baseball, but we all know he's a heavy hitter. Number 3, someone that I always wanted to get in the ring with, but I never got a chance. Jumping Jim Brunzell, WWE Hall of Famer. You remember him and his partner, B. Brian Blair, called themselves the Killer Bees. Oh man, me and my brother wanted a part of the Killer Bees, but we never got a chance to. But we got the utmost respect for them because, hey man, those guys paved the way for people like myself to come in and do a little something in the business myself. But hey, he's here, brother. Heavy hitter. Last but not least, one of my favorites, brother, Mr. Ahman Green, running back. Made his way with the Green Bay Packers, brother. Doing his thing. Heavy hitter. 4 of them. Who will move forward? 3 can move forward. 1 stays back. And I'm going to tell you right now who I think is going to move forward. I think Mr. Ahman Green will move forward. I think Mr. Jumping Jim Brunzell will move forward. And I think Director Mick Garris will move forward. That is my prediction. It was hard to pick this one because all these guys are heavyweights and heavy hitters. But that's what I'm choosing this week. TKN Celebrity Tournament. I will see you, and I wouldn't want to be you. Peace.
This is different, and I love it, man, because it got me thinking like I was back at school again. I don't even know where you come up with these questions. I want to know how you come up with these kids. You're so innovative. I'm like, look, I mean, your mind is good, like you say, you're a history teacher, and your mind is going all over the place.
And it's also wonderful to hear people talk sanely to each other.
You have something amazing going with the show because you're there and you're educating us.
Sure. Your platform gives us an opportunity to really let our guard down. And I've never told anybody in public about that experience with my dad. And on your platform, I don't know why I did that, because it's so comfortable and we're talking about things that matter.
I love the little anecdote of comedy with your would you pay for it? Would you not? I love that. I love how you added that in to kind of break up the tension a little bit because it gets serious.
We want to know people's stories,
I concur.
And that's what TKN does, So I love
uplifting human being. Last name Ferrigno, first name Lou. Lou, welcome, my friend.
Thank you. That's the best introduction I've ever heard in my life. You know something? You need to quit the show and be my moderator and travel with me.
Together for a majestic, out of this world, one of a kind human being. First name Vivica, last name Fox. Welcome, my friend.
Whoa, that was an awesome introduction. Let me tell you that. I don't think I've ever had anyone read my resume with such flow.
Avi is a poet, but he doesn't know it, but his feet show it. You're unbelievable.
Last name Wilkins, first name Lenny. Lenny, welcome, my friend, to the Celebrity Tournament.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to this. It should be fun.
Last name Murphy, first name Calvin. Calvin, welcome to the tournament, my friend.
Damn! You said it just like I wrote it.
But these rhymes are going to wind down as I've reached the home stretch, the one and only Tretch. I appreciate
you better than a lot of these rappers out there.
You gave me good eargasm tonight, man. I love your voice. I love the things that you talk about.
Well, you're the best I've seen. You're the Michael Jordan or LeBron James, whoever you want to make the GOAT.
This is why your audiences love you. This is why you continue to great guests, and great guests beget great guests.
I just want to do this again and again. I feel like I've made friends. And again, I've taken the competition part of it out because I've just enjoyed talking to you guys tonight.
Oh man, most definitely. This is, this I think my top. I think because when you do the intro you gave me, I gotta get to. I like.
You deserve it because if you don't heal from what hurts you, you'll bleed on people that never even cut you to begin with. It had nothing to do with your pain.
All right.
So
tell him.
You guys are bringing the best out of me.
I mean, yes, pain is inevitable. I mean, there's a reason we have these sensors in our body. I mean, they're warning signs. In other words, something hurts. Obviously, something is amiss.
But she would sit at the kitchen table looking out the window for quite a period of time while the food was getting prepared. And I wish I had took that time to sit down with her and ask her questions about her being a child, along with my aunts, my uncles, so I could not only be a blessing to her and know more and sympathize and love her more as a mother, but also to know more about myself and my sisters and understand where we've come from.
This thing has drawn me out of myself and thereby drawn me into myself. But I learned a lot. And from you, Avi, I always learned something from you.
Continue to work as hard as you can, because by working, Avi, you will keep yourself busy and get used to the grief.
More underrated, we have Billy D. Williams, Italian man named Skippy, or Unicycle.
I'm sorry, Italian men named Skippy. Put me away, Avi.
Archie Bunker, the mountain climber. Ralph Cramden, the yoga instructor, or Don Corleone, the computer repair person.
It's clearly an issue with the hard drive.
I'm going to go Don Corleone.
Here, the reason I'm going for Christmas is because it does create those amazing memories that and Sarge, I know you've been there too, because I've seen you at so many different great events for Muscular Dystrophy Association.
You compete with yourself. The Joe Reed, especially working with him, taking pictures in the magazine, helping me to shape my body and educate my mind.
There are those of us who like to venture to the unexplored, to see the beauty in the strange and unknown. Those of us who go out there with a sense of wonder.
God, matters not how straight the gate, how punishment charged the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
There is nothing that was on TV tonight that even remotely rivals what we did on this broadcast.
Hi, I'm Rick Barry, a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame and one of the NBA's top 50 players. And I'm really excited to tell you about my new relationship in the broadcasting world with the new network.
It's TKN, and a young man named Avi Klein has poured his blood, sweat, and tears into creating this new network and assembling an amazing group of individuals.
Legends from every walk of life who are just bringing their knowledge and their experience and their wisdom, and this is amazing. I feel like this is a cosmic convergence of what is most important to him, and he's such a stand-up guy.
Avi, congratulations. I don't know anybody that can talk as much as you. Seriously, I thought I could talk. You are unreal. What you do it with class, understanding, professionalism, you're simply amazing. I told you that when I first met you, and you ran off my autobiography. It basically was a book. It was simply fantastic. And to think that you do that every show.
It's very respectful, and he really connects with the artists and his audiences, and I felt like this guy's on to something, and I'm proud to be a part of this with him.
And I really thank your support. I lost my father, and you were the first person to support me in all that, and I thank you so much for that.
The greatest wealth is when you can share it with someone. You can share your victories, you can share your failure, you can express your deepest feelings, but the greatest wealth is to be able to say that I have a friend, and I feel an unbelievable level of wealth, and a lot of that is because I have somebody like you.
Are you here to win the whole darn tournament?
I don't play. I just win.
Robert, would you like to win this entire tournament?
You know, all those luminaries and athletes and strongmen notwithstanding, the most dangerous place on this show is between me and that prize. That's all I'm going to say.
You're chomping at the bit to get in this thing.
Yeah, man. I've been telling you, brother. You brought up some names to me, and I was like, I can't wait. I hope they don't see me, because it's going to be on like a steaming pot of neck bones, baby, and I'm not playing.
Are you here to win the entire thing, my friend?
I'll just say this, Avi. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
But are you here to win the entire celebrity tournament when it's all said and done?
I saw a very familiar face in Mike Rotundo, better known as IRS, and he said that he was here for the winner, winner, chicken dinner, and I want to take away that chicken dinner, so yes, I want to win this whole shebang.
Last name Smith, first name Joe. Joe Smith, welcome, my friend.
Oh my God, Avi. Where did you get all of that from? Oh my God.
Guys and gals and pals, welcome again. And as always, thank you for being here, because you're carving out time to listen to us. And we appreciate as well the luminaries that are here, because as you guys know, it's about the person behind the persona. And in this safe place, we thank everyone for being vulnerable, for being open. That's what this place really is all about, guys and gals and pals. As I've always brought up, at its core, humanity involves the capacity for compassion, for empathy, for connection with others. And I'd like to think we offer that over here, because the essence of humanity lies in our ability to support each other, share experiences, to foster a sense of community. Despite our backgrounds, despite our cultures, there are no differences. And remember, This isn't a podcast. It's an event. I'm not a podcaster or an interviewer. I'm a conversationalist. This is a place where we have living room style conversations, which is why I consider this edutainment personified. That's entertainment plus education. That equals TKN, because we have philosophical fun in a place where strangers leave as friends. This is a sport of the mind, but guys and gals and pals, the real crux of this thing. Maybe it's the tournament, maybe it's 15 grand and the trip to Greece, but at the end of the day, something more beautiful happens every time we're in this virtual arena. Strangers leave as friends. And I love that, because last year, someone at the studio I worked for said, we're not going to support the show because it needs a little bit more controversy. I said, no, I'd rather have conversation than controversy. That's not what this place is. And now, thankfully, the studio I work for does support this show, because all of you are inviting us again to your living room. So enjoy this free preview, because that's what it is. 3.6 million strong in just a year. This, guys and gals, is a place that has ethical foundation to the utmost. So with that being said, I'll zip the old lip. The rhymes will begin in a moment, but first, I want to bring in our first participant, guys and gals and pals. The bard, Mr. Shakespeare, said, "This above all, to thine own self be true." Giving. What a concept. Can you imagine being surrounded by people that give and radiate truth, love, authenticity? Are your surroundings in alignment with your objectives? Does the word yes beget fulfillment? There is a huge difference between surviving and thriving, and our first participant this evening thrives because he radiates the type of energy that is conducive to success. His stars are aligned, not solely due to his unbelievable resume, but much in large part to his outlook. His level of authenticity is not only refreshing, but it is absolutely greatly appreciated.
There's all this potential energy stored in the molecules of organic matter. So much of what we do and how we live involves the clever conversion of energy from one form to another. All that energy they gave you at the top, right? Okay, now is returned with you speeding up as you descend.
But if there's some small gesture that I can do that can completely add value to someone's life, I'm gonna do it.
You know, make a child laugh. Just put a little bit of joy in the world. Have I lessened the sufferings of others today? That brings meaning to me, because that means the world is a little better off because I was in it today.
You have the power to create meaning in your life.
Came out from my room and told my mom, you know, I don't know what tipped you off to get your young 2-year-old son into the hospital, but I'm glad you did it, because if you didn't, he probably would have died from dehydration. And I think Avi also mentioned, talked about the short form communication through videos. Usually things are short form, 8 to 10 seconds, and then boom, and you move on to the reel that's in your Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And nobody really pays attention and really has these long conversations like this, because then, like we all are, we're learning new things.
Absolutely, guys and gals and pals. I want to bring in Mr. Ahman Green because he is class personified. Our first participant lived in Nebraska until the age of 3. That's where the path to football and competitive sports started. It wasn't always easy. Sometimes older siblings can make you howl and scream like a scene out of Psycho starring Janet Leigh. He started getting beat up by his older brothers even though they were in high school. But toughness can be attained even when you're youngins and you barely know how to drool. It taught him to be tough, and it taught him that he was to earn stuff in an impromptu world that comes at you off the cuff. A few years later, he and his mom moved to California in a little oasis called Leamet Park. This was years, guys and gals and pals, before he wowed us with his excellence on the gridiron, as fierce as a shark and as smooth as Tony Stark. His legion of fans were like kids in a candy store enjoying a bar named Clark. His dad was working at a company called Norfolk Aviation, where he'd bring home computers like Apple II, which was as massive as a whale's tail. Our participant became the official game tester, trying out games like Carmen Sandiego and Oregon Trail. As a freshman at Omaha North, coach Herman Colvin asked him to play for the varsity backing up running back Clinton Child. The very notion might make you wish you were exiled, as he was the child child, but it is no surprise as years later he compiled a tremendous resume while also wowing us with a supreme intellect that could rival that of Oscar Wilde. He was heavily recruited while right after his junior year and was aimed, guys and gals, with such an amazing academic toolbox because he had a GPA of 3.7. USC, Alabama, Miami, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Auburn, Notre Dame, Michigan. Who wouldn't fanboy and feel like they were in heaven? Nebraska, it was playing with Tommy Frazier and Coach Holtz. He won 2 national championships. And as these rhymes leave these lips, there's more moments to eclipse, stories and memories that can make some great full feature-length scripts. And yet as I continue to break this down chronologically and biographically like an efficient gator in the Everglades, let me bring up his many accolades. In high school, he was 1995 World Nebraska High School Male Athlete of the Year. In college, guys and gals and pals, he ranked second nationally in rushing with 156.4 yards per game in 1997. He was a member of 2 Nebraska national championship teams in 95 and 97. He was a first-team All-Big 8 in 95, first-team All-Big 12 in 87. And while in Nebraska, he had a monster senior year. He ran for 1,877 yards off of 278 carries for 22 TDs at a 6.8 yards per clip. In the NFL, he was one of the all-time greats. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler from 2001 to 2004. He was an All-Pro second team in 2001. He was the NFC Offensive Player of the Year in 2003. He was inducted into the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame in 2014. He is the all-time rushing leader for the Packers with an NFL Hall of Fame resume. He went on a 5-year stretch of 1,000-yard seasons and added 48 touchdowns on the ground, cementing himself as one of the greatest to lace it up for the Packers. That 2003 1,800-plus yard rushing season was a sight to be seen. He could run anyone, even a mob hunting down Mr. Bean, Arnold chasing down some protein, or Johnny Depp fleeing the scene due to Amber Heard's hygiene. So put your hands together and welcome a kind, intelligent, humble human being. First name Ahman, last name Green. Welcome to the Celebrity Tournament, my good friend.
Hey, Avi, you did it again. Great intro as usual. The last little comedy antidotes added on there, hilarious. Between Johnny Depp and Tony Stark. Oh yeah, you hit it out the park again. Good job.
Well, I'm glad because you put a lot of smiles on people's faces. It's all about the kids. You do so much for them.
Yes.
I want to talk about your foundation a bit later because, again, on this show, it's awesome to peel back layers, and it's doubly awesome to have gentlemen like you and Jim and Mick be able to offer some of the students we have in our audience. We have filmmakers, we have aspiring actors, we have athletes who are coming up. And of course, our luminaries who watch the show a lot. Lou Ferrigno watches this on regular. Mr. Goodman. We've got so many, and I love being able to just again have the ability to shine a light on who you are as a person, my friend. You do so much for so many, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, I just kind of look at it as an unofficial job that I don't mind doing. If I could show up to a place and not other than just show up and put smiles on people's faces just for being there, I'm like, wow. I didn't know I could do that. I learned that in college when I was at Nebraska. I was like, this is pretty cool. I'm like, these people are all happy. I made their day better because I'm here and I'm just talking. I'm talking to them. So,
and I love it. I love conversation. And last time you were here with Randy Couture and Robert Schaefer, we had a hell of a conversation. We call this the Celebrity Tournament. Of course, it sounds sappy, but I'd rather be sappy than cynical. You know, when people talk about the voting, it's a good thing because I like the fact that our audience, as you know, is so classy. No one's saying anyone's better. No one is better. But if you can somehow resonate with someone through your presentation verbally, I think that's a cool thing because we're all relatable to each other. We all have moms and dads and obstacles and stakes that are so high. But at the end of the day, 15,000, 5-day trip to Greece. Would you like to win it all, my friend?
100%. I've never been to Greece, and you know what? The money just extra bonus on top, but the trip to Greece, because I've read a lot of stories about Greece and the mythology behind it, the beautiful countryside, and the people as well. So it was definitely a trip me and my wife would definitely enjoy.
That would be awesome, my friend. Absolutely. I'm going to bring you back momentarily, and I'll bring in Mr. Garris and Mr. Brunzell first. Then we'll all hang out.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, my friend. Mr. Ahman Green, guys and gals, let's thank him again for his time. We appreciate him wholeheartedly, as I do our next participant, someone who I've been talking to on and off for years, someone who I really cherish. He was on, if you guys recall, in round number 1 on a Saturday. He got a phone call, and 2 hours later, there he was, guys and gals. An incredible person. Guys, some traverse near and far to see what many can't see before them. And again, it took me all 30 seconds to realize that this man is quite genuine, and he's kind, and he's so very intelligent. Walt Whitman said, "Let your soul stand cool and composed before a million universes." And I think those words make me think of our next participant because he epitomizes that very quote.
And we stand today on the edge of a new frontier, the frontier of unknown opportunities and perils. And do all this, and do all this, and do it right, and do it first. Then we must be bold. This country was conquered by those who move forward, because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept. Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid. Man of integrity. Man who never ran out on either the principles in which they believed or the people who believed in them.
Bobby Kennedy, who was a huge favorite to win the 1964 presidential election, and I believe he was ahead of everybody. And then I think this was decided in California, and that night after he had won this primary, he was going through the kitchen at this hotel in Hollywood, and bang, bang, bang. There was a couple shots, and the next thing you know, Bobby Kennedy was laying on his back, bleeding from his head. But to make a long story short, the truth about Bobby Kennedy's assassination was that Sirhan didn't kill him. There was the autopsy reports were questioned. Eddie, I've probably spent more time reading about the Kennedy assassination ever since I saw Mark Lane in college, and there is more evidence right now that he was killed as a result of his lack of air support for the Bay of Pigs, and when all the exiled Cubans got shot down and put in prison by Castro. And at the same time, the mob was pissed off at Kennedy because they wanted him to have the air supply, or come down and strafe and bomb, because their casinos, they lost all their casinos.
Mr. Jim Brunzell and I just spoke about this yesterday, about the Cuban Missile Crisis. He is definitely a John F. Kennedy assassination enthusiast, but also so very intelligent, so very multifaceted as a human being. Guys and gals and pals, the next participant in this trio is someone who many on this network call a friend. He's class personified, keeps it real, and he offers insight and honesty, truly a perfect blend. The White Bear, Lake Minnesota native mind is something to behold, as his perspective is rich, filled with depth, and his intellectual prowess always keeps you on your toes. He can delve deeply into pop culture, works of history, maybe even while discussing Shakespeare prose. Guys and gals and pals, his dad was a Navy pilot, and in 1959, they stayed in Memphis for about a year, which for a child can be a blur. He wanted to be just like Elvis, but here's something that could make you go grr. When he asked his dad for a guitar, he bought him an accordion, which wasn't quite as popular. Despite his parents not allowing him to watch wrestling, he did so anyway, and his first two wrestling heroes were Memphis greats. Guys and gals, they were Spud Moreau and Billy Wicks, and they made your head spin like an early 60s Norman Bates. He played football in college and tried out for the Washington Redskins. When he got back from Washington, he would soon provide the masses with many a grins, as he was off to Vern Gagne's wrestling school, as the barn helped produce legends like Ric Flair and the Iron Sheik to many a wins. He had one of the greatest drop kicks in the business, and he revolutionized the high-flying game. He not only won the Frank Gotch Award, but in 2012, he was inducted into the National Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. But despite the name, the acclaim, and the fame, his heart remained the same. With 50 years of marriage, an incredible book entitled Matlands that was released in 2015, his book of life reads like an amazing epic, and his humility and kindness have no end. The title of the book? It's a nod to Badlands, the 1978 album titled Bruce Springsteen, who happens to be his friend. He's won many championships and has an incredible family, including a daughter who's a teacher working for the local high school district, and a son who's director at Sound Unseen, a thriving film festival which showcases many a cool flick. I can't wait to bring him in, so get up on your feet. Make sure the light in your room isn't dim.
guys and gals, interior, early evening, spring of 2025. The audience curiosity grew, so let's welcome him as I welcome a one-of-a-kind person and human being. Last name Brunzell, first name Jim. Welcome, my friend, to round 2 of the tournament.
Avi, thank you so much. Holy smokes. What an intro, man alive. I had to look around and make sure nobody was behind me.
Oh, you deserve it, my friend. Absolutely. I applaud you. We run in the same circles, as does Ahman and Mick and myself. And there's so many people that respect you. And sometimes maybe it's the way we were raised. I was raised also in a very kind of a macho manner by my dad. And we don't really say this to each other as men, and maybe we should. But you're loved by many. You're respected by many. And I wanted you to hear that.
Well, thank you very much. When I was younger, my mom and dad wouldn't let me watch wrestling because it interfered with the Lawrence Welk show. Oh. So I had to sort of bypass Lawrence Welk. And then finally, I watched a little bit, and then I became friends with Greg as he was a quarterback at the university. And
sure,
after I had tried that little stint with the Redskins, I came back. I wanted to get a degree, and Greg called me and he said, "Hey, Ken Patera just came back from the 72 Olympics. My dad's going to have a wrestling camp, and he wants to know if you want to, try." And I thought, well, I'm athletic, I can jump, and who knows? So I tried, and lo and behold, I had a 27-year career.
You excelled. And again, I want the fans to know, because Jim's too humble to say this, one of the greatest wrestling classes of all time. Of course, you brought up Ken Patera, came out of the Munich Games of 72. And then even going back to watching wrestling, was it the Jackie Fargo Memphis promotion that you were watching when you were a kid?
I think it might even have been before him, because it was, 58, 59.
Okay.
And, right then, all I remember is Sputnik Monroe. And I got to tell you this, in North Carolina, when I was wrestling there, George Scott, who was the booker, brought Sputnik Monroe in to referee. And he had to be in his 70s.
Sure.
So he was refereeing in a match of mine, and he was going through everything. And I said, "Sputnik, 1959. You and Billy in Memphis, Tennessee." And he looked at me and he didn't say another word.
Yeah. But you must have made his day with that. That's pretty cool. Absolutely. Yeah. To know that he inspired you. I mean, think about that. There you are, a kid, and now all these years later, you're telling him, "Hey, in no uncertain terms, you're one of the reasons why I got into this. I watched you. I grew up watching you." So, and again, I know a lot of people have said the same about you. They got into this industry because of you. But I think, again, just from my own observations, but I'm sure many agree with me, there's more to the human than the resume. And you're a marvelous human being, my friend. Your class act, I always love talking to you. It goes so many different places and all positive. But at the end of the day, $15,000, that's nice. 5-day, 5-night trip to Greece for 2, that's nice. Would you like to win the whole celebrity tournament, my friend?
I surely would. I'm going to do my best. We've traveled a little bit since we've been retired and been to Europe, and we've gone to different cruises. And, we were on a 3-week trip to Europe, and we had 16 stops.
Sure.
And you don't get to see what you really want. You want to spend some time there. And,
sure.
And Greece has got such a historical background. It'd be incredible. So I'm going to do my best.
I can't wait, my friend. I will put you backstage for a moment and bring you right back in.
Okie doke. Thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. Jim Brunzell, guys and gals, thank him again for carving out his time for this. We appreciate that wholeheartedly. And again, guys and gals and pals, I've said this before. We're very happy. That's why I make this public. I always like bringing this up. Amazon Prime, thank you for believing in this show. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for letting us keep building, because I want to keep building this. I don't quite think this show is ready for that, but I think it can be. So let's just keep building. Let's keep putting good out to the world and enjoy the journey, because that's what it's all about. Guys and gals and pals, right now I want to bring another dear friend who, again, doesn't know this, or maybe he does. He's taught me a lot without even knowing it, if that's a great way of putting it. But he's taught me a lot with his approach. One of the greatest filmmakers of all time, an incredible artist, an incredible storyteller, someone who really listens and takes in what you're saying. And I think sometimes if we go back to the basics, maybe that's missing today. Maybe it is. But this man definitely, I think, is so very grounded, and it makes you take a look inside of yourself as well. And I appreciate him for that. Guys and gals and pals, I want to give him a quote. And then, of course, I'm going to bring him in just as well. Guys, a smile in the light in your window tells others that there's caring and there's sharing and there's people inside that can provide both. Legendary poet Walt Whitman said, "I'm the friend of all, comrade of all who shake hands and welcome all who bring respect."
And the above rings oh so true when describing my next guest. He's a beacon of light that reminds us that we can stay oh so bright and still pursue our dreams. He's taken a blank canvas and filled it with beautiful and honest and innovative works of art that not only highlight its artistry, but the emphasis, guys and gals, that he places on human discoveries.
But I just fell in love with his work. You're kind of responsible for the Masters of Horror dinner, where you get a bunch of us together at some restaurant and we'd have dinner. And I have to give you a lot of credit. It was really a nice experience. You were responsible for that. And then the Masters of Horror series that you put together, which there's some really good stuff came out of that. Actually, I have to give you credit for me wanting to go back to work again, because I had such a good time on Masters of Horror. You set it up so well. You got a really neat crew. Great people. Nice scripts. I enjoyed myself. It was like a symphony. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. These people are just, I can depend on them. And I care about them. I love them. Just love it. And we're friends, you know.
Studio in the 30s was known for a particular genre. Warner Brothers was crime, MGM was musicals and big Technicolor extravaganzas. Universal was monsters. In 1925-27, they made Hunchback of Notre Dame and Phantom of the Opera. 1931 was Dracula and Frankenstein. Then came Bride of Frankenstein, Werewolf of London. And then there was another wave of horror movies starting in the 40s with The Wolfman in 41. My wife of 41 years, for the last dozen years, has been confined mostly to a wheelchair because she has a pain syndrome in her feet that doesn't allow her to walk. If that pain were removed from her, it would provide so much happiness. But happiness and pain are not two separate things. They are bound together. And without pain to overcome, there is no growth.
Absolutely. Guys and gals and pals, I'm going to tell Mick something that he actually taught me that night when he's on screen. Such a class human being. Guys, our third participant is class personified, and he started writing seriously when he was 12 years old. He created his own film magazine in college called Arthur. He was ambitious, talented, driven, and bold. In 1979, for the Z Channel, he interviewed the likes of Steven Spielberg and Christopher Lee. Spielberg hired him as a writer, and he would direct the making of documentaries for The Howling, Escape from New York, Gremlins, The Fog, and The Goonies. This man is a literary genius who became the head writer of Spielberg Amazing Stories. His writing is the stuff of legend, but soon he'd excel in other areas, departments, and categories. I've yet to bring up the word horror, because yes, he's a legendary horror writer, director, and producer. His films are as good-natured and romantic as they are scary. He worked with Stephen King several times, the man who brought us such classics as The Shining, Cujo, and Carrie. He wrote and or directed Batteries Not Included, The Fly 2, Sleepwalkers, Critters 2, Hocus Pocus, Riding the Bullet, The Stand, 1997's The Shining, and was the creator of the incredible Showtime series Masters of Horror and the NBC series Fear Itself. His books are quite the reads and are always near me, far away from a traditional bookshelf. He's an award winner many times over, and his body of work is incredible, so just take your pick and give it up for a kind, humble, talented human being. Last name Garris, first name Mick. Welcome, my friend, to round number 2.
Thank you so much, Avi. It's so good to see you again, and thank you for having me back.
Oh, without question, my friend. It's so great to have you because, again, your works really did inspire me. Masters of Horror inspired me a lot. Fear Itself went, at NBC. I remember seeing it and going, yes, okay, is this going to be another great anthology series from Mick Garris? And it was, But when you told a story about someone close to you, it helped me get through my pain because I was 2 weeks away from getting married to someone before she dropped dead of an aneurysm. She opened the door to the florist. And I, dumb old Avi, because I like to take accountability, she was complaining of migraines. I get them. And instead of me saying, let's get a neurologist or hook you up with one, I said, just take some liquid gels. You'll be fine. You'll be okay. And she wasn't. So
there was no way you could have known that.
It was.
There's no way.
I appreciate you saying that. But in addition to that, when you said you have to live with pain, I've kind of come, if this makes sense, I've come to terms with living with pain, knowing that it's not always an enemy, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said in your clip there is no growth without pain. If life were easy, you would never move beyond sentient being,
So true.
It's just so simple. But I was very touched that you used those words from John Carpenter for the introduction, because, he just got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And I was really touched because he invited me to come to the ceremony and be there for the luncheon and the unveiling of his star on Hollywood Boulevard. And I just love the guy so much. And he's not a guy who opens in front of the public much of his feelings. And those words that he said were so open and loving and so sweet that, I'd forgotten that he'd said them. And it was a great reminder on how warm that he's capable of being.
You did it. I mean, you inspired him to come back. I mean, you've collaborated with some of the best, and you are absolutely one of the best. We share perhaps a mutual friend. My mentor was Richard Donner, who passed away.
Dick was a great, great guy.
Do you remember the belly laugh? He had a big old belly laugh.
Oh God, yes. Well, he had such he just had a big personality. Everything about him was oversized, but a wonderful guy. And I did the making of the Goonies and got to interview him on that and do some behind the scenes footage with him.
He was incredible.
He was great. And I also directed a Tales from the Crypt, and he was one of the producers on that.
That's something, man. Yeah, he for a week, I think for about a year, every week we'd meet up at a diner near Santa Monica. He would look at my scripts, and he's the one who taught me. And I'm sure that you. No, that's okay. I think we're having you back. Yeah, Donner was the one who essentially taught me how to also write for investors. He says at the time I was a young pup, and he said, "Look, you're an independent screenwriter, which means you're probably going to produce and direct this as well. So I'm giving you some advice." He says, "Way too many exteriors in this script. You got about 35." An investor is going to read this, and they're not going to read it for creative purposes. They're going to go expensive, expensive, expensive. Get rid of all those exteriors. First lesson he ever gave me, Mick. So,
that's right. How often are you going to move your crew?
Right. Exactly. Oh, my gosh. My friend, I can't wait right now to bring Jim in and to bring Mr. Ahman Green in. We are all here, and I'm so happy for that. You guys are awesome, and I'm glad we'll delve into topic number one, which I will introduce. And the way it'll work is I will essentially... It's the same topic for everyone across the board. I will pitch it to Mr. Mick Garris first. If anybody wants to interject with a thought, they can if they'd like to. But Mr. Mick Garris will kind of kick things off, and I'm going to let our audience right now know what topic number one is. It's called History to the Rescue, because in this particular scenario, you've all been granted permission to go back in time, and you're to take a loved one on this trip. The person could be alive, or they may have already passed on. You're going to take this person with you during a time in their life in which they were feeling down and or depressed. You can take them on a journey through time to meet any historical figure of their choice. Now, this historical figure has been informed of your journey and is looking forward to meeting both you and your traveling partner. My question to you, Mick, is A, which person do you take with you on this trip and why? B, which historical figure will you be visiting in the hope that they can inspire, cheer up, and or motivate your traveling partner and why? My friend, the floor is yours whenever you're ready to go, good sir.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for introducing me to the gentlemen who are pictured next to me. So great to meet you, Jim and Ahman. And I'm gonna answer B before A, if that's okay. Now, I don't know if you know the name Lou Zamperini. He was an Olympian in 1936. The book and movie Unbroken is about him. He in World War II was in a crashed plane, a bomber over the Pacific, crashed in the Pacific during World War II. He was in a life raft with two of the other surviving members of the crew on the plane for 47 days in a life raft with no food or water. And eventually picked up by the Japanese, who interred him. He became one of the most tortured men of World War II. He was in a prison camp in Japan for 2.5 years until the war ended. So the punchline is he was my father-in-law. So an amazing
Very
man,
cool.
just an amazing man, sweet, and lived to 97. Angelina Jolie, who directed the movie, showed it to him in his hospital bed on her laptop just days before he passed away. Just an amazing man, amazing story. So that's B. A is what I would love to do is take my wife of 43 years, his daughter, back to 1936 and the Olympics and get her a first row seat to see her dad inspire her from that perspective.
Awesome.
Very nice.
That is absolutely incredible. And Mick, let me ask you a question. In terms of his plight, do you think he ever spoke about that much, or was that more contained?
He spoke about it all the time. He made his living giving inspirational speeches around the world, mostly around the country, but around the world. And he became quite a celebrity when he came back from Japan. Sure. In 1950, he went back there after the war to forgive his captors after he had found Jesus through Billy Graham at one of the Billy Graham tent revivals in downtown Los Angeles. So a very, very special guy. And my wife loved him, and we lost him in 2014. So he's not from distant history, but still a historical figure and somebody I would love to take my wife by the hand and bring her to see her young dad in the Olympics.
I think that's beautiful. Like, how could a poor immigrant from Torrance, California, which is where he was, make it all the way to the Olympics? And then he goes on to survive multiple plane crashes. Guys and gals and pals watching, you heard Mr. Mick Garris illustrate this for us. And then he was lost at sea for months and more than 2 years of torture in POW camps on top of that. But Mick, he had this unmatched energy about him, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, all the way until his passing at the age of 97, he was eloquent and funny, and he loved to talk. And let's say that again. He loved to talk, especially about his experiences, not only during the war, but beyond that. I mean, if he was being interviewed, it was sometimes said that he would answer the questions he wished you'd asked rather than the ones you did. So I'm sure you're familiar with that. But anyway, he was an amazing guy, one of a kind. Nobody was like him, and really so proud to have called him my father-in-law and to have helped produce the movie Unbroken.
I think that's incredible. Yeah, and a bit more about him for all our viewers again. This is someone who, I guess, got involved in running thanks to his older brother who got him involved, right? And his speed was obvious from the get-go. His speed was pretty obvious because at age 17, he set a record for a 4-minute, 21.2 second mile.
Yep.
So, absolutely incredible.
And he went to USC also. So.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
That's absolutely incredible. Guys and gals, again, Mick Garris, appreciate you again bringing something up that. And let me ask you this, Mick. When it comes to cheering somebody up, because as a filmmaker, I always looked at your films. People are going to look at maybe the surface and maybe those who appreciate, I guess, the subtext. That's what actors should do, of course, and they do that. They'll open up the script, and if you're not a novice, you're trying to locate and identify the subtext. Of course, there's nonverbals there. There's so many different choices you can make. But the same thing in this question. What is it that you can detect about a person to know that they might need a good boost, a good lift me up? Is it something about walking into a room and immediately reading it? Because you're a director, you're a writer, you probably pick up on a lot of things that some of us don't.
Well, I think being a storyteller is mostly about knowing characters and being able to fulfill who a human being is beyond what their surface is. And you can sense that when you meet people. You don't judge them, but you suss them out. And I think, writing about characters and meeting as many different kinds of people as possible to give you the broadest range of experience to be able to write from with veracity is a really important element. And I think you do feel it. I think you can know somebody who feels pain, people who are more sensitive than others. You can read better than others, but everybody has a beating heart inside, whether it's the one that pumps blood through or the one that pumps emotion through. And I think those are important elements that anybody who tells stories for a living needs to know.
That's beautiful, sir. And as Ahman and Jim, as I brought up to Mick before we went live over here, before we recorded, I spoke about Mick the other day. We were talking about an incredible two-parter of The Shining in 1997, as Stephen King intended it to be. And Mr. Garris at the helm, along with, Don Jeffrey Nelson was there as an acting teacher that I think probably made the work on set with the little boy a lot easier, right, Mick?
It was great because, a lot of people think that a director does everything, but a director is not an acting coach.
Right.
The actors need to be ready when they get to the set to be directed. And in this case, he was 8 years old, so he needed a coach. Dawn was she was a friend before she was somebody I worked with. And I brought her in because she was an acting teacher who worked with kids. And she did a great job with the boy, and he was ready every day right at the beginning.
Guys and gals and pals, please, 4.5 hours of incredible storytelling. I implore you guys to check this out. It was, I remember when it came out in 1990.
Stephen King, who wrote the script as well as the book. So.
Well, I'll take your roses, my friend, because what a canvas you filled it up with. Some great art there. And again, very, very authentic and genuine to the original novel, which is great. Guys and gals and pals listening as well, I'm going to ask the same question to Mr. Jim Brunzell. And as you know, in the comment section, you guys are welcome to give us some of your own options. Let us know, again, who you would take back to history with and why. History to the rescue is the name of this topic. Mr. Brunzell, if in this scenario you've been granted permission to go back in time, you have to take a loved one on this trip. The person may be alive or they may have already passed on, but you will take this person with you during a time in their life, Jim, in which they were feeling down and or depressed. You can take them on a journey through time to meet any historical figure of their choice. This historical figure has been informed of your journey and is looking forward to meeting both you and your traveling partner. Which person do you take with you on this trip and why? And which historical figure will you be visiting in the hope that they can inspire, cheer up, or maybe motivate your traveling partner and why? My friend, the floor is yours.
Wow, Avi. I just want to say, Mick, you got my vote already. But now I'm going to say something here that's probably a little contrary to what we're all involved with, and it's political. And I talked to Avi about it because I was sort of going through all these different thoughts and different persons that I thought I'd, bring into this and take them back. And because we're in such a state of flux in our democracy and the rule of law, free speech, and basically everything that we know as democracy is being attacked by our president and his administration. What I would like to do, if possible, and it's not a loved one, I told Avi I worked for Donald Trump at his casino in 1986. We had a WrestleMania there. And there was like 20 of the wrestlers from WWE, and Donald was there, and he was very, let's say, in his own little world. He didn't say hi to anybody. He had 3 bodyguards on each side of him. But his wife was just absolutely wonderful. She came, she shook all of our hands, and she was so polite, and she actually made the trip. And I remember all the guys, there was, like I said, 18, and Vince McMahon, the owner of the WWE, had given Donald Trump $20 million on a couple of different occasions, for his run as president. So seeing, and you can't help but, if you watch any news today, you just get it's just a barrage of what he's doing to disrupt what we know as democracy. So I would like to take Donald Trump, not as a friend, but as a person who needs help. And I would like to take him back 2,000 years ago and introduce him to Jesus Christ.
Oh, nice.
And in so doing, I would like to, bring him to the Holy Land and have him experience Jesus' compassion and his empathy and his humility and love and respect for his fellow man. And I would hope that this encounter would soften Donald Trump's heart and allow Christ's spirit and love to be absorbed in his body and soul, and as a result, completely change him and his ways. And I think that would be an incredible trip. And I'd like to just end. Can I get an amen on that?
Amen. You got my vote too.
That's it.
That was awesome.
Oh my gosh. And I love how, again, in this safe place, yeah, we can talk about everything. There's nothing, and guys and gals, there's nothing out of bounds, because consider the source. Mick Garris and Jumping Jim Brunzell and Ahman Green are gentlemen, and I love how they're able to paint this picture. My question for you, Jim, and this is a question about, maybe it's general, I guess it would be a generalization. Is it possible to adore a human being and dislike their politics? Can the two work together? I would love for them to. Do you think that's possible?
No.
Okay, why is that, my friend?
Because I think the politics are the core of their body. That's the core of their being. And I've sort of dissociated myself with a number of friends who were my friends and have gone their own way. And I don't want to argue with them. And I just say, hey,
sure,
you know, if this is what you want, that's fine. It's not what I want. It's contrary to all my beliefs and how I want people to treat me and how I treat people. So,
yeah. And, you know, and last time you were here, you know, we share an affinity for history. And I have to tell you this, when we brought up how there's such a difference, and it's only been about 60 years or so, but there's such a difference when it comes to conduct and etiquette, when it comes to how people used to debate each other, like the infamous 1960 Nixon-Kennedy debates, where those listening assume Nixon won, those watching assume Kennedy won. But at the end of the day, there was mutual respect. Even if you lost, there was mutual respect. Maybe not so much at the end of Nixon's presidency, when he was watching George C. Patton 2 times a day. He was actually watching Patton, losing his mind and trying to throw his cabinet under the bus day by day. Spiro Agnew and everybody, he was kind of going through a midlife crisis, but there seemed to at least be some level of decorum. I remember the Nixon interviews in 93 and 94 before his death. And he was an eloquent man who took accountability, who said, I made a lot of mistakes. And I guess we're not seeing that today. And that frightens me, because the person you had mentioned is definitely up there in age, late 70s, early 80s, where you would think maturity would set in, right? But it hasn't. It doesn't seem to have set in.
Silver spoon keeps that from happening.
That's right. Avi, I'd like to just add one little thing.
Sure.
You know, a lot of people think of Donald Trump and he's always witch hunts and this and that. In the 70s and 80s, Donald Trump was a defendant in, 3,000 litigations. 3,000. And I happened to write a little letter to the editor, and I started out, I said, this is the best best joke of the week. I said, Donald Trump tells so many lies that he has to have his neighbor call his dog.
I love your passion. I really do. And guys, again, Mr. Jim Brunzell, the last time he was here with Eddie Johnson and, of course, with Brian Taylor, it was with a couple of hours notice. And I appreciate the education you gave us then. I appreciate the education you gave us now. I appreciate Mick Garris honoring people that mean so much to him and to his family, and interweaving that into such a great story that I can't wait for Mr. Ahman Green right now. No pressure, right. Mr. Ahman Green right now. I'll set up the question for you as well. I cannot wait to hear this. This is for our viewers who are tuning in. I call them drive-by viewers because sometimes somebody might be watching this as Ahman begins his presentation. So here's the topic, guys, who are watching now, who just joined us. It's called History to the Rescue. In this scenario, you've been granted permission to go back in time, and you are to take a loved one on this trip. This person may be alive or they may have already passed on. You will take this person with you during a time in their life in which they were feeling down and or depressed. You can take them on a journey through time to meet any historical figure of their choice, but this historical figure has been informed of your journey, and they are looking forward to meeting both you and your traveling partner. So, Ahman, A, which person do you take with you on this trip and why? And B, which historical figure will you be visiting in the hope that they can inspire, cheer up, and or motivate your cheering partner? My friend, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Avi. First of all, I'd like to ask Mitch a question about his story. Taking his, I believe you said wife, to meet her dad, right?
Yes.
Or, how do you think your wife would react to that, knowing that she could learn from what he had been through or just hear his stories?
Well, she had her whole life hearing his stories, but I think she would love everything about it. Right. I mean, maybe not cheering when Hitler took him by the hand to shake his hand.
Correct.
But this was Berlin in 1936.
Correct.
But she would be so inspired. She was also very athletic. She's handicapped now and
right.
had difficulty walking, but he was always a source of inspiration to her, and to be able to see him in his youth at the peak of his athletic prowess would be thrilling for her.
And that's why I kind of like directed, like seeing him younger. That was more my question, because she's seen him as an adult her entire life. So
absolutely,
pretty
to see
cool.
him, just out of his teens,
Correct. That's cool too. And for Jim, man, you nailed it. I'm sorry. When you just said what you said and how you would want Donald to go back and basically get some home training from Jesus,
right?
Of how to treat people and how to be a leader and how to hold people accountable, how to hold himself accountable to his actions and the things he says about things, and how you got to follow through or not follow through or not even say the stuff. Some of the things he says, So I love it, man. I love it. But to my picking, and we got told these questions a few weeks ago, and so I was thinking the whole time, like, man, where am I going to go with this? It was a little hard, but I've learned I'm 48 now, and I say in the last couple of years, I've been through. I say since last couple of years have been rough in terms of I've been changing jobs a lot and just learn how to pace myself and take it one day at a time. Something my mom and dad used to say all the time. And so with that, I was like, you know what? Just let it come to me. When we get on the stream, I click in, just don't overthink it. And it's something's going to pop to you. And the pop to me thing happened when I saw the introduction of all of us. And I see you, Mick, and I see your background. And then I knew right away, I know who I'm picking. I'm picking my mom, because she was a big time horror movie fan.
Wow.
So I grew up watching movies that you probably helped direct, write a plot for, inspire, between Stephen King, the guy, John Carpenter, all the old horror fiction movie writers. That's who she grew up. And that's who she basically raised me in watching movies. So, and my figure would be, and somebody who's still with us, would be Stephen King, because that was one of her favorite directors because of the suspense, the storytelling, I think was the biggest part. And I know she would want to meet him because of just how, where did you get these thoughts and ideas to put on paper and to create something like the story we just watched? If it's The Shining, Pet Sematary, I'll say movies that was around her age, Carrie, and even I think we watched it. I watched it as a kid with her and my dad when it was a TV series before it was a 2-3 movie spectacle that it is now. That's still awesome, by the way. So that would be my person to take. Because I know she would be almost like a kid in a caddy store. What was your idea? Why did you do this in this scene? Or, why did you write that character like this? Because that was like our thing as a family. Me, my mom, my dad, I'll say mom and stepdad that raised me. That was like our thing to do on the weekend. I grew up in Leimert Park, obviously Leimert. That's how you pronounce the neighborhood. And we would basically, when videos became a rental thing, that was kind of like our family time together. And so we'll go rent like 6 movies from Friday to Sunday and watch them and then return them on Monday. And of the 6 movies, probably 5 of them were horror movies. 2 of them was Stephen King, and then a couple were John Carpenter, and then some young actor, the director trying to get into the industry. But that was just something we did, and it was just cool. And it's got me to now as an adult. I tell people all the time, my friends and family, they joke with me. They're like, man, no, Mom, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to watch a horror movie with you. I'm like, I don't like them. I'm like, you got to wait. You got to not think of it as a horror. You got to think of it as a learning moment, because it teaches you. If you really watch a movie for beyond the special effects, the teeth, it's a vampire movie, or the slasher, it's the blood and guts, if it's a Jason or Evil Dead movie. If you look beyond that, it's actually teaching you practical things about being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or around the people at the wrong people, or around the wrong people at the wrong time. Like, hey, you got to have that like a radar about you to be like, oh man, this don't feel right, and listen to it. Unlike the writing, Mick, you could talk on this. The writing sometimes lets the actors go beyond their common sense. It's like common sense wise, you would tell you, leave the building. Don't stay there.
There's good horror movies and there's bad horror movies.
Right.
Yeah. A good horror movie is a good drama first.
Correct. Yeah. You read a book that said, "Do not open me." Read the book. Don't read the book. So those are the things that I remember as a kid. My mom would joke about in the background while I'm sitting on the floor. My mom and dad are behind me on the bed, and we're watching. And she's like, "Don't read that book." You see it says don't read it. Don't read it. And then the movie's over. And my dad is like, "Well, babe, if they don't read that book, it's no movie." So we gotta. So I'm getting this education behind me as I'm watching. Commentary from my parents. So she would definitely want to talk his ear off to Stephen King in terms of asking him questions about where and how he developed the stories he created. That was for started in a book and then went to the big screen. So that would be my person that passed away. My mom passed away in 2019 to Alzheimer's disease, but Stephen King, he's still with us. He's still putting out good stuff too. And I just seen The Monkey, fantastic movie. Yeah. Oh, love it. And I tell people, like, really watch it. And I tell all my kids, I tell family and friends, they laugh at me. I'm like, if you really break down a horror movie between the writing, the acting, the directing, and the cinematography, I say the acting and the writing is teaching you something. Pay attention, because you never know. You might be in so many situations are practical situations. You get a flat tire on the side of the road and it's dark and you're a woman by yourself. Like, what do you do in that situation? Or you're at a place where, yes, there's a ton of people, then all of a sudden it's a loud noise and something's going crazy, and like, don't panic, relax, and make your way out to get yourself to a safe spot.
I always looked at the monster as the unknown, and as human beings were essentially either afraid or skeptical of the unknown. And when you heighten that, and there's a monster that maybe is unseen, just shine a light on people reacting to something that they were told never existed to begin with. Like, it touches upon a nerve. And what else touches a nerve is how you described your mom, because, gosh almighty, God rest her soul, you wouldn't be here if she didn't react when she did during a certain time when you were young. You were taking a Greyhound to California, and between Nebraska and getting to Arizona, where you had to stop basically, you stop at every other state to pick up people and go on to the next state. By the next time you got to Arizona, you caught a virus that had dehydrated you completely and basically ate away all of your baby fat when you were a kid. So she rushed you, and she said, something's not right with my baby. She took you to
just
a
had the
local
feeling,
hospital. Right. And even though that you're on a Greyhound in a foreign state at the time, she had a feeling something wasn't right. So the doctor said he has this virus that is somehow eating away at his baby fat. It's dehydrating him. And if you didn't bring him in, he was saying this to your mom, he would have died of dehydration. So that's incredible that your mom had that instinct and that, I guess, fight or flight. She literally did something about it. She stopped a Greyhound bus and said, my baby needs to be helped, needs to be assisted. Wow,
Right.
incredible.
And she did a lot of that when I was younger. She would just point out things like something, you're not going to school today, or we're not going to go, we talked about going somewhere today. We just stay home.
Sure.
Those type of little situations will pop up, and just told me my mom was, special in so many ways, and my dad was even though my stepdad, he was kind of built the same.
Sure.
And that taught me to have an awareness about stuff,
Right.
When I'm walking into a building, like my background, right? Once I got older, I became a football player. So that means everybody knows who I am.
Sure.
But I don't know everybody. You feel me? It's like I walk into a building, everybody knows exactly who I am. Oh, that's Ahman Green, Green Bay Packers all-time rusher. He went to Nebraska, da-da-da-da. But I could walk up to anybody else and just, I got to ask them their name. Like, what's your name?
Right.
And get an introduction. So it's just like now I got to, definitely know my area, who I'm around, when I'm around them, stuff like that. And that was some, like I said, that kind of a learned thing from, being the way my mom raised me, mom and dad, raised me, and my two older brothers, like you mentioned as well.
So mature of you, Ahman. I brought it up last time you were
Thank you.
here. So mature of you, even when you knew that, hey, maybe I'm too young to play with some of the seniors. Of course, they wanted you to. You were talented enough. And just you had that insight as a youngster to say, hey, I don't think I'm ready. And then, of course, your career speaks for itself, one of the all-time greats. But that level of maturity definitely spoke to your coach. It's so rare to see. And it's also interesting, Mick and Jim, we're talking about a little bit of horror. Isn't it interesting that something as simple as a piano, such a classical and majestic instrument, would bring to mind one of the most potent names in the horror and sci-fi film genres? You talked about Carpenter, and it's something to behold, right? If you think about that, right? When you're a kid and you're butting into a somewhat piano player, there's only a couple of tunes that would come to you when you have the instrument in your hands. Maybe Home Sweet Home, of course, but maybe the theme from Halloween.
Oh, 100%. I knew where you were going with that.
Right? It was choppy. It was menacing. It was morbidly catchy staccato hook. And it
I'll give you a great quick story.
Please.
I first met John Carpenter when I was doing an interview of him for a magazine. And it was in this tiny little recording studio with just him and a keyboard. He was recording the score to Halloween.
Wow. That's incredible.
Oh, I love
and then I've known him ever since. Yeah.
Ahman's right. Yeah, to be a fly on the wall, just to hear that.
Wow.
Was absolutely incredible. And guys and gals and pals as well, please. I want everyone to know this also. Mr. Jim Brunzell, again, won't bring this up, but for him to be able to write and to write and to write and to express his beliefs about policies that should be implemented, and to do that and to write his fellow congressmen and to do this so passionately, I love you for doing that, my friend, because I think my mission statement regarding the show is to make sure that we peel back the layers and remind everyone that it's not just about the persona. It's about the person behind the persona. And I think if people want to get to know the person, Jim Brunzell, all they have to do, guys, and I'm going to bring this up because I want to, guys, there is a great book, Matlands. I brought this up in the introduction. Jim Brunzell wrote this book about 10 years ago. It's done really well, and you could tell why, because it's a story of a person's journey. And you get to learn more about Jim Brunzell as a person. Jim, it came out in 2015, and I think now they can get it on Blurb. Am I right?
Yes, yeah, and it's relatively inexpensive. $25. I wrote every word. I didn't use a ghostwriter. I have a number of friends that have, wrote books, but they've had a ghostwriter. They gave them an idea, and I said, well, I did it. I wrote it myself, and I had all my own pictures, and it's worked out real good. And it was funny because, we entertain some people and we go to parties and invariably I'd have a couple drinks and then I would relate a story that happened on the road. And friends of mine would say, Jim, you should write a book. So, and then my wife, Mary, said, maybe you should just jot down things that you remembered. So I did that, and then we put it together, and then she composed the manuscript, and we sent it in, and it came out pretty good. And a lot of people say, you wrote a book, and I said, yeah, I did. So, and I also have a CD called Matlands, and I use the melody of Badlands from Bruce.
Oh, that's great.
And he gave me he gave me permission to use it.
Oh,
So
wow.
So I
Nice.
wrote, and I'll send you one. Matter of fact, I'll send all three you guys the CD. And a friend of mine, GB Layton, who's a local musician in the Twin Cities, recorded it and did a wonderful job.
Sure.
And he was a little afraid too. He said, "Geez, I don't know if I don't want to get in trouble with Bruce's record company." I said, "Don't worry, you won't." So
I love it. What a great story. And you know what? Hey, maybe Matt Lance can inspire the old Donald. Hopefully, maybe we could send it to him. And we all know he needs some inspiration right now.
Well, I don't know.
Oh man. And guys, again, in terms of inspiration, as a young writer, when I was writing my first 30, 40 screenplays, they're all horror. And again, this is not lip service. I don't do that. Mick was one of my inspirations. And there was a book written about Mick. Absolutely, my friend. Abby Bernstein wrote this book called Master of Horror. Am I right, Mick?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Where can people find it? Do you know? Like, I would love for people to pick it up.
It's ATB Publishing. They don't go through Amazon for the same reason, Jim, you don't go through Amazon.
Yeah.
But it's they are an independent publishing house.
Sure.
Abby wrote the book, spent quite a long time on it. We did lots and lots of interviews for it, and she did a really good job. You know, most people aren't happy with biography, and it wasn't unauthorized, but it wasn't exactly. I mean, it was authorized because I participated in it, but without putting any rules down. You know, whatever you put in there, I'm not going to approve or disapprove of anything. It's your book, not mine.
I love that. And there's also, I don't want to embarrass you here, but Mick, I'm bringing this up because I want to as well. You've written a lot of books yourself, my friend. About how many would you say?
Probably half a dozen. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
A couple of novels and a couple of short story collections and a couple novellas that were published in a special edition.
Right. Incredible works. And guys, again, please listen to Jim and Mick when it comes to some of the advice that they're imparting, because I'm sure it's relatable. Again, short films, but how about short people, little kids? Ahman Green inspires the little kids. Consulting with esports. He's got a foundation as well. There's so much going on. I love being able to, again, showcase that intro, that promo pack I put together for you, where, again, it's all about the kids. It's all about what you're doing to help boost their confidence. The way you can relate to them is great as well through gaming. Could you please talk about some of the stuff you're involved in right now, Mr. Green?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, my foundation, the Ahman Green Foundation, started back in 2001 when I was doing free football camps for kids in Omaha, Nebraska, and parts of Wisconsin, because I was playing in Green Bay for 8 years. So between Milwaukee and Green Bay in Wisconsin and Lincoln, and I say Omaha mostly, those areas, North Omaha mainly, that's where I grew up. But then now, years later, I kind of rebooted it. Still going to do the traditional sports side, some training, mentoring for traditional sports athletes. But now that video games is now becoming more of a front stage thing in terms of the esports side of it. But the games are too. They got some incredible RPGs out here now. But from the esports side, I partnered with a company in North Carolina called Stay Plugged In, and it's an acronym. If you spell it, it's SPIN, and they basically help high school kids get on a platform where they can show their talent to colleges to earn scholarships. And since 2020, that's when the company was created. They have earned, I'll say, the students within the program of SPIN have earned over $40 million in college scholarships. Only 5 years. So I'm like, I partnered with Rick Suarez and Abe Gotsman, great guys, and we just started one of our pilot programs called the Players League, where you take guys like me, former athletes of any background, any sport, and mentor high school kids that may not know who you are, but they just they're just told that, hey, this is a former athlete from baseball, football, basketball, soccer, hockey, wherever. But we understand, being on the team, we understand accountability, we understand integrity, showing up on time. So it's teaching the students that are having to be on the esports teams, obviously, how to be better teammates, how to be somebody that's going to be held accountable for accomplishing deadlines, because something that they're doing, Mick, you'll like this part of it. They're creating a Super Bowl commercial during for this competition. And so It was 4 high schools in each state, 2 high schools in each state, 2 in North Carolina, 2 in Texas, 2 in Wisconsin, and 2 in New England that all got to compete from a production side, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics, then also from the video game side where they played Madden to compete. But then they also, some of the players were actually some of the content creators, the writers of the commercials, some of the behind the scenes people working in front of, behind the camera, and some of the actors too. So so that's where I knew I could come in and partner with this company and grow it, because they want to bring me in and mentor other esports athletes over the years. So we're just starting this program, and the first event went off in Green Bay for the draft, and we had families flying from North Carolina and Texas. They loved the trip, and they also loved the event, because now it was one student from one of the Houston high schools. He went to high school in the Woodlands, just north of downtown Houston, and he loved the program because he never got a chance. He actually got connected with kids that was in his own high school that he had never talked to because of this program.
Through the program, yeah.
Through the program. If it wasn't for this program, he made new friends.
And there's so many facets to this too, which I like. There is a lot, and it speaks to so many people on different levels. I'd like to help any way I can. And of course, guys and gals and pals, it is about teamwork, which is why Mick, myself, Ahman, and Mr. Brunzell, we're a team over here. Whether we're talking right now or whether we're snacking on some Progresso soup. You see, this is a 4-pack. This is good old chicken noodle soup from Progresso. And as you can see, Mick and Jim and Ahman and myself, we're not reaching for a can because we don't have to. It's a 4-pack, which means all 4 of us can scarf some of these down one at a time after the show because of our buddies here at Progresso. So thank you guys and gals for being an incredible sponsor and giving us so much. We really appreciate you. And hopefully the introductions can be made to Mr. Brunzell, Mr. Green, and Mr. Mick Garris, because they, as you can see, stand for so much. They have a lot going on, and I'm sure you guys would love to be able to maybe work with a Mick Garris and Ahman Green and a jumping Jim Brunzell. That's Progresso. Guys, we have one more topic to go, and then we're out of here. But first, I'd like to play a very, very brief video of those that have been involved in this tournament. 148 Hall of Famers and Oscar winners and Grammy winners. It's amazing how this has grown. Some of them are no longer here. They have passed over to the other side. So this is a quick tribute video to those that we have lost. 3 ovations for Gallagher, more underrated than why? Sauerkraut, Henry Kissinger's deep soothing voice, or dogs wearing sweaters?
I like dogs wearing sweaters.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, I haven't done an interview in 20 years.
Mr. Sizemore, first name Tom. How are you, my friend? I could turn the volume lower if you'd like next time. If you'd like me to do that, Tom, I could do that.
Wow, that was something else. I don't know what I can do now.
Oh, please.
That was terrific, man.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And you know what? As charming as a guy that you are, man, and as honest as a guy as you are, and as down-to-earth as a guy as you are, you played a character that isn't so down-to-earth named Scrooge in college. You played Scrooge. And, of course, I feel like a thespian should rely on their instinct. Do you feel like you rely on your instinct a lot as a storyteller as well?
I mean, playing Scrooge at that young an age was, when I think about it now, I only way I could have done it is I was relying on my instincts. I could have done it the other way. Okay.
More underrated than why? Unicycles, Italian men named Skippy, or sophisticated dinosaurs?
What? More sophisticated dinosaurs?
Yeah,
I want to say the sentence. Italian men named Skippy. I just want to say.
Yes. Yeah. Italian men named Skippy.
I just want to say the sentence. Italian men named Skippy.
Yeah, something you'll never hear. Yeah. Did you have fun? Did you have a nice time?
I had a great time. It was ball.
Yeah, man.
I want to do it again. This is great. I just think it's going to be, a lot of fun for people. I don't think people like this on the air. I don't think really. No, there isn't. I just think it's going to be I'm very interested in how people respond to it, because I know it's going to be interesting and see if people tune in and stay tuned in, and I really hope they do. And I'm all yours, bro. Let's go out and make this work. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.
Very good. Rest in peace.
I teach a workshop, and one of my students finally said about my class about iambic pentameter. He finally said, "I got it," and he was excited. And it was both his elation and those 3 words that make it worthwhile, right?
Amen. Amen. You got it. But I think I've got to have equally passionate people involved in the production of it. That passion will override any reservations anybody has as to the show's potential for entertainment or education.
Did you feel as if transitioning to the stage and performing live theater was a natural fit for you?
Yes, I did. I always felt very comfortable on stage, more so on stage than I did in film or television. So I'm looking forward to you, Avi, giving me your thoughts and your input, because as I told you, that piece that you sent me is, I love good writing, and I think
Thank
that's
you,
been
sir.
the secret of my career. And this is a beautiful piece of writing, as I said. I'm referring to the piece that you wrote me. You're onto something because you're a writer. You're a creative force, and I want to hook up.
Thank you so much for those kind words, guys. Thank you for being you, my friend. I appreciate you and respect you wholeheartedly.
And that goes double for me to you, Avi.
Oh man, I gotta tell you,
Very nice.
my dad would have loved shaking your guys' hands. Who in heaven right now would my dad be conversing? You think someone from your family, a friend? I'll tell you a bit about him. Very, very quiet, very shy, very big guy. He was about 6'6", 6'7" at his prime, but it's very, very reserved and loved human beings, loved stories, loved to laugh. I would love to get to know some of those that you've lost, and maybe one day my dad could tell me about them later on. Who is it that you guys have lost that you still maybe talk to or think about in life?
My mom passed away about a decade ago on my birthday. And
I'm so sorry.
First, well, I have a brother. Thank you. I have a brother who has a birthday a few days apart from mine. And when it looked like the end was coming for her, I said, "Boy, I sure hope she doesn't die on my birthday." And he said, "I kind of hope she does on mine." And it's like, that totally twisted my head around and went, "You're right. I'd love to have my birthday be a day of celebrating her life." So
that's incredible. Oh my gosh.
She used to stay up late nights with me to watch scary movies on television. So that's where it all started.
I know she's super proud of you, my friend. Super proud of you. There's no doubt. Mr. Green, anyone that you think about or talk to that's no longer here on this planet?
Oh man, I think about him, talking to him about every day is my stepdad who raised me. I remember I was 6 years old, or 5 years old, and my mom and him had been together about a year. They were about to get married, and I remember we're in an apartment in Los Angeles, South Central LA, and I come in from playing outside, and I just asked him the question because he had been, like I said, it'd been about a year. We've been living together, and I just said to him, "Are you gonna be my dad? You gonna be my father?" And he looked at me. He said, "Yes, I am."
Wow.
And after that, it was like what I said, what I wanted as a kid. I just wanted a grown man in my home that I knew that was caring for my mother, but then also, caring and taking care and supporting me and raising me as a man. So
that's beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. Mr. Brunzell, anyone that you talk to that's no longer on this planet?
Well, my folks passed away a number of years ago, and recently I've lost a lot of teammates and buddies from the wrestling world, but a fellow who I played college football with, and actually he was a Green Bay Packer for 10 years. He was middle linebacker, Jim Carter. He took Ray Nitschke's job, was a wonderful friend of mine, and he and his twin sister and his uncle, all within about a month's time, all got metastatic melanoma.
Oh, wow.
And
Jesus.
Interesting.
Jimmy and I had gone to a number of our friends who had cancer, in the hospital, and he hated to see him suffer. He says, he told me, he says, Brunzell, he says, if I get a terminal illness, he says, I'm not going to suffer. I refuse to. So he and his wife had a couple places that they lived, and he lived in California, and he lost 45 pounds, and he had bumps all over his body. So they have a society out there called the Hemlock Society, and if you get pronounced terminal illness by a doctor, he will write you up a script to take your life. So I got word from this, and I called Jimmy before, I knew that he was going to take his life, and he was an agnostic. He didn't believe in Christ. And he argued with me. He says, he said, Brunzell, he says, when I'm dead, I'm done. He said, I don't want any funerals. I don't want this or not. And I said, Jim, I said, I know I'm going to prove you wrong, because I believe there's a heaven and there's a God. And he was, in his middle life, he was a sex addict, drug addict, and alcoholic for 30 years. And the last 20 years of his life, he was sober. And he went around all over the country to AA meetings and told his story, and was such a awakening for so many people. And I miss him. He's a wonderful guy.
It's beautiful. Because again, I said this earlier, I'd rather be sappy than cynical. And you guys have now introduced some of your loved ones to our audience, and we know them now, first with a name and then with their story, and a legacy that I'm sure is going to speak to everybody, because you guys have been able to give them life right now in real time, which is great. And I really do appreciate that. Quick story before we move on to topic 2. My dad passed away in November. Essentially, he wasn't healthy for a long time, and his heart, he had a COPD, CHF, he had the works. They thought they could save him by switching his pacemaker. They said, we're going to bring you in. This new pacemaker might do the job. So we're hopeful. They're telling us that he might even get discharged on a Monday, and he got brought in on a Tuesday. He goes in for the procedure on a Wednesday. On Thursday, we're told to wait and see. And then on Friday, I get a phone call right after doing this with Mr. John O'Hurley. And my brother calls me up and says he's got 2 days to live. So it went from like hope to, and he was sitting there, and he really did fight as much as he possibly could. I went to see him, obviously, and he, with his big fingers, he kind of summoned me over. He always had something to say that was important. If he didn't, he wouldn't say it. So I walk over, and of course, it's hard for him to breathe. And he says to me, look, he's old school. He didn't have internet, didn't want internet. So obviously didn't watch the show, not because he didn't want to root for me. He always did, but he was very old fashioned. He said, your mom's got internet on her phone. If you go do the show now on a Saturday night, I'm going to watch it on her phone. I said, Dad, I'm not going to do that. Like, he goes, no, I've never watched it. And it's like my dying wish to see what you do. I've never seen what you do. So I want you to watch it. And I was in tears, and I debated, but then I realized this is his wish. And I departed. But before I did, he summoned me over with his big old fingers again. And little disclaimer, some levity coming up. So I'm thinking, what pearls does he have for me now? And he goes, Avi? I go, yeah. He goes, give me some of that water over there. Then I left. But and the whole room cracks up, because that's who he was, like, near. He wanted to make sure people were laughing. So that's a cool thing. And guys and gals and pals, we're going to laugh right now, because this is a very brief game that I play. It's going to be a bit different for Ahman. Ahman, you played I'd Pay before. Remember, you played that game. You enjoyed it last time. It'll be different this time. It's a very fast game. And then our second topic, and we're out of here. But I do know that there's a question. A fellow TKN host has a question for Jim, Ahman, and Mick. Howard, please, if you will, ask Ahman, Mick, and Mr. Jim Brunzell any question that you'd like. And then we're going to move on to topic number 2, our final topic, Howard.
Hey, guys. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with all 4 of you gentlemen. Okay. Well, my question for you, Jim, after watching your round 1 match of this tournament with NBA legends Brian Taylor and Eddie Johnson, I'm a big fan of you as a person.
Thank you.
And you came in last minute, and you educated us all on all things about JFK. So my question to you is, in an alternate reality where JFK isn't assassinated, what does that world end up looking like?
God, you know, I was 14 years old when he got assassinated, and I'll never forget. They came on the intercom and they said, "We have horrible news. President has been assassinated in Dallas. Say a prayer that our country survives." And you know, I didn't know what to think, you know, and you didn't know. You know, everybody was, and my mother was a huge John F. Kennedy fan. Man, she had a bust and she had pictures all over and the books and everything. And you know, it's hard to say. And you know, things progress historically, you know, because you've got good and evil, and you got so much greed in this country, in this world, and so much poverty. It's hard to think what might have happened, but I think he would have been, first of all, I think they would have talked him out of getting involved more so in Vietnam. And because I know that when Johnson took over after Kennedy was assassinated, it was gun-ho, it was Vietnam, boom. And, you know, the next thing
LBJ doubled down. He doubled
down.
down.
Well, he had, I don't know how many, 200,000, 250,000 kids. You know, and I had friends go over there, and they never were the same. They were.
If you remember, Jim, JFK, there were a lot of things that maybe could have led to his assassination. One was, of course, the fact that he was giving an interview to CBS News 4 months before he was assassinated, and publicly declared that all he wanted us to do was to help.
Exactly.
To help the ARVN and not exactly fight for the South Vietnamese, but to help train them. And of course, that wasn't in line with what the military-industrial complex wanted. So that might have been something that kind of put a cap on him. And then he went against the military. Of course, he should have, because the Cuban Missile Crisis, not the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Bay of Pigs in 61 made him look like a fool, because he was told that we're training these Cuban refugees who were cops and taxi drivers, and they weren't soldiers. And he was told under his watch that they were being trained. And of course, when he found out that that was a lie, he turned his back completely and never trusted the military again. So,
Avi, I just wanted to mention this, and I think anybody who's examined the Kennedy assassination, I've read over 30 books, and I told you about Mark Lane and the Rush to Judgment, and just within the last year and a half, I told you Ken Patera's friend knew this guy in Chicago, and this guy's name is James Files.
Right. And
James Files, I went to their house, and he talked about him shooting Kennedy. And he had a Remington. He's got, as a matter of fact, he's got the doggone thing right here. Wow. It's called Confession of an Assassin, James Files.
Right.
And he explained what he did, and he explained that it was the CIA and the Chicago mob that had him killed.
Right, sure.
And Johnson was aware of it.
Yeah.
So it was amazing to listen to him, and he talked like killing a guy, you know, especially John Kennedy, was like nothing. He said it was a job. He got, you know, X amount of dollars.
The underground criminal world thought they bought their own president. That's what they thought. And of course, Robert proved that was not the case. So you're right.
He had this little rifle that was called a Remington. You can look it up. It's a Remington 100, and he had a scope on it, and it was a single shot. And he said he had the sights right above his right eye, and boom.
Oh my gosh, it's so fascinating.
Well, it is. If you have an opportunity, research this guy, and he spent 23 years in jail.
Wow.
And he's also had an attempt on his life numerous times. And I asked him, I said, why don't the Justice Department arrest you for killing Kennedy? And he said, because then they would have to expose the fact that Kennedy was killed by a conspiracy, and it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald.
That's so incredible. Guys and gals and pals, Mr. Jim Brunzell, in the future will be on with Mr. Pete Babcock, who's also dedicated his life to the Kennedy assassination. And of course, Jim's good friend Jesse Ventura will be on here very soon. Howard, any questions for Mr. Mick Garris and Ahman Green before we delve into topic 2?
Yeah. Again, Avi, thank you for this opportunity, man. So Ahman Green, it was really refreshing to hear how dedicated you are to like academics and sports, and you're very much a very present individual. And I love the fact also how much you loved the game that Avi played as well last time you were on.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, in your biggest moments, your most difficult moments of adversity on the football field, what prevailing thought or feeling or sentiment would ultimately help you through it?
Man, I say so. I had a lot of people don't know this. I say few of my teammates knew about this was going on because they were present with me at the time. But most of my career in I'll say Green Bay, I was going through a divorce that spanned about 2 years of my first 3 years of being a Packer. And it was my high school sweetheart. We got married, and obviously things didn't work out, but she just wanted to continue this I say almost telling the judge I was like hiding money overseas. I was doing all this stuff behind closed doors, which I wasn't. I was just trying to play football and live out my dream, with her, but it didn't work out. And so I'll say the part that I never shared, like I said, with my teammates even then, and starting to share it more now with people, like yourselves too, is the fact that I had all that pressure and drama going on and never talked about it. And I was still producing, I was still playing football. I was Pro Bowl 4 times, like what Avi mentioned. And I said, I told one of my first teammates, William Henderson, who was my fullback, and I told him at one of my football camps. And I said, Will, remember when we were playing, sometimes I'll kind of be, loofy, a miss, kind of just out thinking on my own. He said, so I was getting through what my ex was going, putting me through. He said, I kind of figured that, but I was only, I was going to be like a brother, support you, but, waiting if you needed any support, I wasn't going to ask, I wasn't going to push it. So he said, so that is what it was? I was like, yes. I said, just think about this though. If I didn't have all that drama going, how better of an athlete I would have been, because I was fighting through the drama, like days where I would drive to the players' parking lot and sit in there before I would go into the parking, into the locker room and kind of collect, be like, all right, I got to think football now before I, because all the drama was outside of the locker room. Me getting phone calls from my lawyer because I'm getting,
wow, I can't
hit on
the focus that you have to have.
Right. And so I had to basically create almost 2 sections of me, 2 brains in my head to know, okay, I got to cut this off and now be football on. When I get back out of here,
heavy stone to carry with you all the time.
Right. And so I had to basically, I was like a horror movie. I was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Oh my gosh.
I had to be one person in front of my teammates and then another person in front of my friends and family members that knew what was going on, support me through the court cases and the lawyer fees and my kids being I say brainwashed of who I am as a person, and they just thought I was this bad guy. And even now, as they're adults now, 20, 28 and 25, and I just visited them. That's part of the reason I'm in Texas now. I'm only 3 hours away from them, and they now, as full-grown adults, they see everything, right? They see what their mom's doing, and they like every day they're like, Dad, we're so sorry, when we were kids, because mom was telling us this, mom was telling us that about you. And I'm like, I know. I say, but I had to ride that wave and still, be an adult, but also
you're very classy.
Be a football player at the same time.
Yeah.
So.
The truth revealed itself, and you are a great person. I mean, your Jekyll doesn't hide. Your Jekyll doesn't hide.
Right.
Mr. Howard Collado, if you have a question for Mr. Mick Garris, we have to move on to our final topic. Go ahead, Mr. Collado.
All right. So, Mick.
Hi, Howard.
Hey, it's again awesome to be here with you guys. A pleasure and an honor. I'm Mick. I learned so much about like the history of horror in your first round segment with Livia Dabo.
Thank you.
Than I probably learned in school or any documentary or whatever.
Yeah.
So my question to you, and I'm really, really curious what you think about this. So has technology and the use of CGI and other visual elements added to the evolution of the horror genre, or has there been an over-reliance on it due to perhaps a lack of story or maybe character development?
Both. Good question. I love it.
Good question. And the answer is both. It has made it better because you can make reality much more flexible than you were able to before. You know, my first movie was Critters 2, where we had rubber hand puppets were the monsters.
That's like my number one as a 10-year-old. I love that movie.
Thank you. But now I could take those rubber puppets and I can make their eyes blink and their pupils expand and contract. I can make them, their teeth grow. Things can happen because of CGI. Made it worse by, like you said, making the writing and storytelling lazier and around the effects. And great CGI, you can't tell it's CGI. Almost all CGI that you see in the movies now is more like video games than movies. So it's how you use the tool. If you use it well, it's a great technology. If you use it poorly, it's just a cheap substitute.
I say that to people all the time. And when watching the movie, they didn't use the CGI right. I say that all the time.
Yeah, we're on the same team, Alan.
Yes, for sure.
Howard, those are some great questions. Those are some great questions.
All right, thank you, man. I watch you, Avi.
Well,
You do your thing.
Good job, Howard.
Take your roses. Great stuff, and thank you for joining us, my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. CGI was even used as early as '97 for The Shining.
Oh, even before that, Jurassic Park was the first one where they, and it holds up now because they used it for storytelling.
Right. Yeah.
And you couldn't have made that movie without it.
Sure.
And those dinosaurs had weight and texture and reality. That's 1993.
93, yeah.
Wow.
And
incredible.
it's still fantastic.
It holds today.
And you believe it completely.
It does. You're so immersed in the story when you're watching this film that it doesn't take away or detract at all, even during the infancy of CGI. Guys and gals and pals right now watching, very quick game. We're moving on to topic number 2 because this is the levity portion of our show, which I think is great because a lot of this is fun. It's nonsensical, but it's fun. Why not have a couple of laughs before we ease into our very final topic for Mr. Ahman Green, Mr. Mick Garris, and Mr. Jim Brunzell. I call this game I'd Pay. Jim Brunzell and Mick are going to play this, but Ahman Green is going to play more underrated. I got a couple of options only. So the way this works, Ahman played I'd Pay. We were talking about this all show. The way it works is I will give Mick and Jim a trio of options. They're nonsensical, but you would have to pay for one of them, and you would let us know why you would be paying for one of these. So we'll start off with Mr. Mick Garris. Mr. Mick Garris, if you had to pay for one of these, let us know which one it would be and why. Watching Rocky Balboa as a neurosurgeon, Seinfeld as a correctional officer, or Rambo the talk show host?
Rocky Balboa. I want to see those big fingers stumble around through the innards of a body.
But you have to admit, this is one time we want Mick Garris in the room. We don't want Mickey the trainer in the room bothering him while he's trying to do this.
That's right. That's right.
Any other scene you could motivate Rocky, but not when he's doing any of this surgery stuff. Rock, I told you to cut. I knew I'm trying to get the scalpel without you breathing down my neck. So we don't need Mickey at that moment. Mr. Jim Brunzell, which would you pay for to see and why of the following? Rocky Balboa is a neurosurgeon, Seinfeld the correctional officer, or Rambo the talk show host?
Rambo the talk show host. I think that'd be extremely interesting.
I mean, he'd just have to deadpan and play with his knife and look at a guest and go, "Go, do something." Mr. Ahman Green, more underrated or why? You've never played this game, so what do you think is more underrated and why? Okay, between of these following: unicycles, burping with melody, or 95-year-old women resorting to profanity?
Oh man, that's golly underrated and why? I would to say, I would say women 95, and you said swearing.
They've earned it, right? At 95, they've earned
it.
Yeah.
I think that's underrated. I think it's underrated because of all the new slang that's out for kids today. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'd rather listen to my grandmother give somebody the riot act than one of you guys when I don't even understand what you're saying half the time. You know, for
nothing
the
like an old lady cursing.
Yeah. Exactly. At least I know what she's getting. Like, okay, you're mad.
Yes.
You don't like it. My mother-in-law does that. She'll say something. I'm like, I know you don't like that, Madeline. No problem.
I think they've earned it for sure. Right now, back to I'd pay. A couple of more of these options, and then we're going to go to topic number 2. Mr. Jim Brunzell first, my friend. Which of the following would you pay to see and why? Hannibal Lecter is a regular cast member of 90210, Big Bird the Bounty Hunter, or Conan the Librarian?
Big Bird.
Big Bird the Bounty Hunter. Yeah. I don't know if you know this. He ran the streets of Sesame.
I know it. And they're going to try to get rid of that show. Sesame Street.
That's right. NPR, PBS. Yeah.
You're right, Mr. Trump, whatever you want to call him, is trying to get rid of it. Yes. Yes, Donald Trump is trying to get rid of it.
If it's good, he wants to get rid of it.
Unbelievable. It's so
if it helps people, he wants to get rid of it.
Well, he wants to get that. He wants to get our national debt up to 50 trillion. You know, I mean, the fiscal conservatives just are applauding everything he does this way.
It's insane to see that. And again, just an institution, Sesame Street. Mr. Mick Garris, which would you pay for to see and why? During these tough economic times, we have to think about which one we'd pay to see. Which would it be Hannibal Lecter as a regular cast member of 90210, Big Bird the Bounty Hunter, or Conan the Librarian?
Conan the Librarian. I just want to see him pronounce the titles of books.
Mr. Garris, the grapes of wrath is due. 2 weeks, it's overdue. Right back to a different game, more underrated for Mr. Ahman Green. Which do you think is more underrated and why? Psychiatrist with turquoise-colored mohawks, Steely Dan the band, or Tom Selleck's mustache?
Oh, Tom Selleck's mustache.
I love it.
Easy.
I love
that
the
is
mustache.
underrated. People don't realize how iconic that mustache is, and
it is
the planning and the manicure, the upkeep of it as well. That's behind that mustache. I remember watching his show, back in the late or late 80s, Magnum PI as a kid, either up late at night or early in the morning. But yeah, that stash, when you see it, you know exactly that's Tom Selleck.
Because I'm trying to tell our younger viewers there who have seen him on Blue Bloods, they don't understand. He had a great mustache.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. Right now, I'm going to kick it over to Mr. Jim Brunzell. We're playing, of course, a very quick game here called I'd Pay. Which would you pay for to see and why, my good friend, of the following? Darth Vader is a wedding planner, Godzilla is a massage therapist, or Freddy Krueger, the personal trainer?
Freddy Krueger is the personal trainer.
The Risk Girls. The Risk Girls.
The knives are out. Yeah.
Great question.
I'm so interested.
God, where do you get those questions?
This is what a writer does at 2 a.m. I tell you.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I got to see where Mr. Mick Garris is going. Is he going the horror route with Freddy Krueger, or is he going to surprise us with something else? Which would you pay for to see and why? Darth Vader, the wedding planner, Godzilla is a massage therapist, or Freddy Krueger is a personal trainer?
Godzilla as a massage therapist.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't add up at all. Like
just the radiation therapy for that would be.
The client
walk on your back and get everything, though, right?
Doesn't end well for the client.
It doesn't end well.
But it's very radioactive.
Yeah. Totally agree with you on that. Mr. Ahman Green, of course, for your game, you played I'd Pay before, so this is more underrated for you and why. Which do you think is more underrated of the following? Okay, we have sneezing 5 consecutive times, filling up a cup to the top without it overflowing, or sociology professors named Buster?
I would say filling up a glass and not overflowing. That is so underrated. When you can get it right there, you're like, oh, and you're able to walk with it too, and nothing comes out of it. You're like, I'm a genius here. I'm a gangster. I know what I'm doing here.
There's no doubt. It's our final one now, guys. We'll move on to topic number 2. Our final one for Mick and for Mr. Jim Brunzell. Mr. Mick Garris, I'll start with you this time. Which would you pay for to see and why of the following? Beetlejuice as a runway model, the cast of Goodfellas as studio audience members on Jerry Springer, or Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th as a professional ice skater?
Jason as an ice skater, because he uses blades.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I never thought. That's great.
Oh, geez, that's great.
That's we're learning here.
I think I picked him. I think you asked me that one.
Did.
And I picked the same one, Mick.
Eureka.
I picked Jason on ice skates. I
told you we're on the same team.
Yes. We are.
Oh my gosh! And we're gonna end this with Mr. Jim Brunzell.
Okay.
Which would you pay for to see and why of the following options? Beetlejuice as a runway model, as a studio audience members on Jerry Springer, or Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th as a professional ice skater?
Beetlejuice.
As a runway model.
Yes, sir.
That's a good one, too. That's a good one.
Not real soon. I love it. Guys and gals and pals, we're going to finish now with topic number 2. Honorable mentions. We're not going to get into it. Honorable mentions was Alf, attorney at law, Papa Smurf as a hip-hop artist, Mr. Bean, the motivational speaker, Archie Bunker, the mountain climber, Ralph Cramden, the yoga instructor, or Don Corleone as a computer repair person. Guys, the great thing about this is it's a good acting exercise. It gives you a chance to illustrate some of this stuff, and you tell your own story in the process, so it's a lot of fun. And we thank Mick, Jim, and Iman for playing along.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. You guys were amazing and fantastic, and I'm about to zip the lip because I'm going to we're going to rotate it out. Now, guys and gals and pals who are watching and listening, Mr. Ahman Green will go first. I'll set up our final topic right now. It's a thought-provoking question. Ahman, if you were tasked with writing a book about self-acceptance that only includes one chapter, one page, and one sentence, what would you title this book and why? What would you title the singular chapter in your book and why? And what would be the lone sentence in this chapter and why? Whenever you're ready to go, the floor is yours, good sir.
Yeah, this one was a lot of thought process to it too. Something I'll say the title. So we got the title, the chapter, and the first sentence, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Title. So the name of the book I would have would be named Built Different. The chapter would be, oh man, that's the tough part because I already have my sentence. But I say the chapter would be, oh man, I say the chapter would be. I think you mentioned in some Avi in your intro how you react to negative things and in your life and to how you still function after that, something in that neighborhood. So that I say, make it, I said, no, you know what, here it is. My chapter would be, don't let them see you sweat. And then the one sentence would be tough people, tough times goes away and not tough people.
That's beautiful, man. Thank you again. I really appreciate that. And guys and gals and pals, this is definitely something that we appreciate wholeheartedly when it comes to Mick Garris, Ahman Green, Jim Brunzell expressing their thoughts on a book that has one sentence, one chapter. I mean, if you think about that, right now I'm going to ask the same question to Mr. Jim Brunzell. If you were tasked with writing a book, good sir, about self-acceptance that only includes one chapter, one page, and one sentence, what would you title this book and why? What would you title a singular chapter in your book and why? And what would be the lone sentence in this chapter and why? Whenever you are ready to go, good sir.
Gosh, the first one would be survival. And what was the second one again? What
the name of the chapter?
Sure.
Right. Around the world.
Okay.
And then the last one is a sentence?
Yep. Single sentence.
I got this, and it's sort of, this is what I'm going to say. It was through the grace of God and the love of my wife, Mary, that I survived a 27-year career in professional wrestling.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. For all the fans out there that don't know much about pro wrestling, of course they travel, but you guys know that they barely get to see some of those sites because it's lather, rinse, repeat every day. They get off a plane. If they're lucky, they can go to the gym and sneak in a quick workout. They go to the arena.
Yeah.
Maybe at 2 a.m. a Denny's is open if they're lucky. Maybe a Waffle House is open at 3 a.m. and they can grab some sort of omelet or eggs if that's even served, and lather, rinse, repeat all over again. So it's such a tough lifestyle where essentially, Jim, in your days, 300 days a year wasn't uncommon back then.
Avi, this is the truth. I went through. I kept all my books for 27 years on daily, where I was, how much I made, what I spent, and everything.
Yeah.
And the last 3.5 years at New York, when I worked for Vince McMahon and my partner was Brian Blair, we were called the Killer Bees.
Oh,
we wrestled 27 days a month for 3.5 years straight.
Oh my gosh.
I broke my hand and I only missed 1 day and came back.
Oh my gosh.
And then you wondered how come people were losing their life to substance abuse, suicide, and marriage falling apart. And again, there's nothing. I mean, I was good to wrestling, and wrestling in turn was good to me, but at the same time, it didn't offer anything. I mean, there's no insurance, there's no retirement. You know, I got thrown out of the ring. I split my head. I had 29 stitches.
Oh my God.
And I said to the promoter, I says, well, do I get you the bill? Oh no, you have to pay for it. So it was $650 that I had to pay for, you know, and
no union. Right.
No union. Matter of fact, I got fired for trying to get a union, and Jesse will talk about it too.
Sure.
And the only person that we really needed to have a union was Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan, if he would have been part of the union, it would have affected him the worst out of anybody, because he would have had to lose more of his money. So he wasn't going to do it. So, and right now, the only thing that I see, I can't say anything good about wrestling. It's built on greed and deceit.
Sure.
And the guys, the only thing I see right now is the guys are making, you know, good money. I mean, they're making, you know, some of them are making, you know, 6, 7, 8 million a year.
Wow. Guaranteed contracts. Yeah.
When we, you know, 27 years, my biggest year was 103,000. And I wrestled over 300 times.
Incredible. That's insane.
And you had to pay for everything except your airfare. You had to pay for your motel, your food, you know.
Unbelievable. And you're giving your body up, and you're not getting taken care of when you should be. And I think if you were on a card of a Hulk Hogan, if you were wrestling on a card of Hogan, it was kind of like trickle down Reaganomics, right? Essentially, you all wanted to be there because
you wanted to be on Hulk. You wanted to be on Hulk Hogan's because that was going to be the biggest house of the week.
Yeah.
And since then, since I retired, I've had 14 surgeries. And,
oh my gosh,
you know, I had 6 on my knees. I had one knee replaced 3 times, and both my shoulders replaced and my hip.
Oh my gosh.
So I have neuropathy now, and I also have early onset dementia, which is something that really bothers me. Mm-hmm. But you know, that's the price you had to pay, and I was fortunate. I thank God that you know, my wife did a beautiful job taking care of everybody, and you know, things are good.
Well, my friend, I mean this when I say this. Your presence is a present, and I really appreciate you, really, for opening up.
I enjoy being here. It's great.
Oh, thank you.
Ahman and Mick.
That means a lot to me. Guys and gals and pals,
great.
Mr. Mick Garris, if you can, good sir, we will finish this up right now. And guys, as soon as Mr. Mick Garris is finished, this amazing panel can say goodbye to each other, but I will ask if I can, just Jim and Ahman to hang out for 2 more minutes. I'm going to give Mick Garris a solo layout. He can tell you anything he wants, any words. I'll say goodbye to him as well. And then Mr. Jim Brunzell, and then Mr. Ahman Green. But Mr. Garris, if you were tasked with writing a book about self-acceptance that only includes 1 chapter, 1 page, and 1 sentence, what would you title this book and why? What would you title a singular chapter in your book and why? And what would the lone sentence in this chapter be and why? Whenever you're ready to go, good sir.
I actually typed this one up. So the title would be Don't Listen to Them Unless They're Right.
I like that one.
Chapter 1, or the chapter title would be Don't Let Anyone's Ego Get in the Way, Especially Yours. And the sentence would be, don't let people who think they know better than you talk you out of a good idea, but know when they make a good point worth considering. So mainly that's aimed at young writers or directors or creators in any way who are intimidated by people who've been in it for a long time. Because often when people want you to change, they don't like what you did. Often it's because it's new and original and not like everything else. What they're looking for, especially studio executives, is to read something that's similar to something that has come before that's been successful.
So true.
So
true.
There's my very skinny book.
No, that's sage advice. That's really sage
that
advice.
is genius.
So much quality and substance from Mick and Ahman and Jim.
Thank you.
Guys,
But I really want to thank you guys. Whoa.
Not sure what that was.
Sorry. That was me, sorry.
Hey, you know what? Hey, look, at the end of the day, Mick, this is kind of cool, right? Ahman gave you a jump scare.
Yeah, exactly. And I jumped.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yes,
sorry about that.
Mr. Garris, Mr. Green, and Mr. Brunzell, don't sign out just yet, but anything you guys would like to tell one another as we depart?
Well, I just want to say it's been a total pleasure talking with you guys and sharing ideas and just seeing different perspectives. I don't live in the sports world, and I don't only want to be surrounded by people who do what I do.
Right.
That's awesome. That's so
I feel very fortunate. I was scared to death of this because I saw the topics and I thought, holy Jesus, you know. And I talked to Avi about it and I said, God almighty, you know. But I was really thrilled and I learned so much tonight, and it was a wonderful experience. And I want to thank all you guys, especially you, Avi. And also, I'm going to, Avi, when we get done, I want to have your mailing address.
Yes.
And I'll send a book for for the three of you guys, Mick, and then my CD in it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Guys, if you can, just, I guess, don't sign out, because right after we end the broadcast, I guess we'll put that information out there. What's his name or her name?
That's Bruce. That's my cat. He plays guitar.
Oh,
really?
All right. I had a couple of cats growing up. They were definitely, cats were different. Cats are different.
They are. They definitely are. Guys, if I can, I'm going to put Ahman and Jim backstage for just one brief second, and I'm going to have Mr. Mick Garris. Anything you want to let our audience know? But I guess first and foremost, my friend, taking these off, I don't need them anymore. Did you have a nice time, my friend?
I had a great time. It's always fun with you, Avi, and
Thank you.
it's always a really interesting mix of guests, people that I might not run up against in my own personal life that, like I said, I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with.
Absolutely, my friend. And it's tenfold right back at you. You're such a gentleman, and you're always so kind. Any message you'd like to send our viewers, my friend?
Well, just I love that there is an opportunity to talk about things of substance, you know, the considering your fellow man, fellow woman in ways that are encouraging rather than discouraging, because we need encouragement more than ever.
Thank you for providing that, my friend. I appreciate you.
Likewise, Avi, thanks.
You have a great evening, my friend.
You too. Take care, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mick Garris, such a gentleman. Mr. Jim Brunzell.
Yes.
Right. You could tell within 5 seconds how classy and real and just so very, very sweet of a human being Mick Garris is, right?
Very much so. I tell you, I really enjoyed the experience, you know, Ahmed, and it was, like I said, I was sort of fretting it, but it was really a beautiful evening. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, my friend. Is there any message you would like to tell our viewers? Anything at all, my friend?
Stay positive.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
And then one thing else, I've been signing this to all my emails. I say, you know, peace and blessings, and in God we trust.
I love that. And that's so helpful today and so useful. Thank you, my friend, for being you. I consider you already a great friend. I will put you backstage. And of course, I cannot wait for this book.
Yeah, you can just email me your address, boom, and I'll get them out tomorrow.
You got it, my friend. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Jim is such a multifaceted person, Ahman. He can talk to you about any topic, but he does it with grace.
Yes.
He enjoys the conversation. He doesn't preach to anybody. He doesn't talk down anybody. Again, I started speaking with Jim about 4 years ago, and then we, of course, he's so busy doing so much for his fans, and now he's back here again. And it was so great for our viewers to hear somebody be so honest and giving. And I think we can pick up on that, right, Ahman? I think.
Oh yeah.
Just seeing him for the first few minutes, I already noticed the chemistry you guys had as human beings, and that's awesome.
Yeah, all three of us. Yeah, me, Mick, and Jim was. You know, finding out the information that they shared. Oh my God, you know, like especially with Jim and the whole JFK assassination information. I've always, ever since I was a kid and studied that in high school, and then growing up watching the movies that were made about it or documentaries, and it's like eventually that information was going to come out, and now that it's out, it's like wow.
It really is.
It's so interesting. You know, I'm a history major, kind of geography guy, so that's history tied in with it.
Yes.
So that type of information to me is so fascinating because it was so many different people behind it that you thought, or that JFK thought supported him, you know, that had his back.
He really did. He thought
that had his beliefs in alignment, and they were doing their own thing because they didn't like it because it was all about money, pretty much.
The only guy that warned him and was there for him was Eisenhower in '59. He told him, look, whatever you do, you can't trust the military-industrial complex, but if you turn on them, it's going to be bad business for you because they're not someone he wasn't someone that they wanted the way they wanted a Richard Nixon. Like Prescott Bush touted Richard Nixon because he was a true blue politician. Nixon wasn't, because he didn't want that position. His brother Joe got gunned down in World War II.
Right.
And as a result, Papa Joe Kennedy's like next in line. It's like a cattle call. And enter JFK, who had like a back brace, wasn't really healthy, didn't really want that position.
Yeah.
And then the guy gets killed for mentioning how he wanted peace and prosperity, and he didn't want to neglect what was happening domestically.
Yes.
And they want to just carry
rights
foreign
movement
policy.
going on.
Yeah. But let me tell you something about you, man. I hope you take the roses. You're so academically gifted, and you don't bring that up, because I could tell your mind, the way it works, you have like 3 or 4 or 5 thoughts at once.
If I do.
I could tell, like, you just, the way your brain and you always have ideas, and you might be restless, and it's like, I can relate to that. I can sense that about you, man. What would you say to some of the kids out there watching? Because you really relate to them. You do help them. Do you have a message for the kids out there, my friend?
Message for kids, because a lot of kids, when you were like, I'm 48. I'm 48 years old minus 10, as if I say that right. I'm a 10-year-old plus 38 years.
Sure.
I'm still that 10-year-old. That's how I look at myself. And so what I know about young adults and young kids is that all we're looking for is support. We want a mom, we want a dad, or we want somebody to help teach us things like discipline, accountability, integrity, respect, how to do certain things. That's what I asked my brothers for. That's what I asked my stepdad for. My dad, when I did get a chance to talk to my dad, it was just things I wanted to learn. I want to know about the world. What is stuff in the world that
so awesome,
that is important that I need to know as a person.
That's so awesome.
And my mom would basically say, hey, be nice to people, be respectful.
I could tell.
Stuff like that, and so that's what I try to bring to young adults, because there's so much in the world that we already talked about, between like the horror movie stuff with Mick, the CGI, and how that is a good and a bad thing to it, and the technology for young people is a good and a bad thing to it.
Oh
right?
My gosh, yeah.
They could get lost in it. So
and I think that's good that you kind of come from a generation that understands, the video games of yesteryear per se, technology of today. We're still young enough, you and I, to be able to kind of understand both generations and how it could apply and benefit the future generations. And I'm going to tell you what John Amos said to me. He's like, I want to hook up with you. He hired me as his writer, as a screenwriter. I want to hook up with you too as well, man. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, and if I can do anything to help, I'm all there, man.
Yeah, I got a couple of things. Like, my first thing was with Mick, and just seeing his connection with the horror world. I was like, this is my mom.
Oh, right. Yes. She was a fan, a horror fan.
She was a horror fan of every movie out there. And
that's awesome.
So I got to connect with him. And I obviously got to connect with you. And I, just that right there was like, that's my mom at work right now.
I love that.
Because I did not know, you didn't know that he was going to make it through the second round of this competition. It's a competition, but really it doesn't, it's fun. I'm enjoying this education of people that I'm getting. And then yourself is just awesome. I'm like, I just wish I could put together bars of rhymes like what you do for our introduction. I'm gonna work on it though.
I'll tell you what, though, man,
it's the work. I know
that's the easiest part, because there's so much to say about you guys. There's so much things you've done. So you give me a lot of material, my friend. Hey, I really appreciate you carving out some time. I'll definitely be in touch with you really soon, because again, we got a great sponsor as well. Definitely want to hook that up too, because you're doing good things, and I think they would. I think they would really I think that speaks to their mission. So
and I have a book I started writing. I got my first children's book written. I have my stepson do the artwork for it. So actually, I'm about to give him a call to see if he has started or any updates on the artwork. But I have my first children's book. It's written. Now I just got to edit it down a little bit. But then that's going to go into a series of children's books of what I talked about. How to be friends.
I think you might have it already. But in case you don't have it, there it is in chat. That is my cell. Anytime you need me to help in any which way, I'm there for you. And guys and gals and pals, right now, we're going to kick it over to our panel. They're going to decide again and let us know their thoughts about the conversation that Ahman Green, Jim Brunzell, and of course, Mick Garris had. Give us your thoughts. Give us your sentiments. The floor belongs.
Oh my God.
That was lovely. I don't know if I have a better word for tonight's match, but that was lovely. They were so, oh my gosh, they were so giving and beautiful and happy to be on screen with everyone else there, learning so much from each other. And Avi, what you brought out of them, not only with these topics, but the way the conversation flowed in between. I was captivated all night. This is going to be a really, really hard one for voting. I'm mesmerized by what we witnessed tonight, and it's not necessarily, well, it's both. It's both what they said and how they said it, how they articulated their thoughts on these questions, and really showed us who they are and what they stand for. I could not ask for a better night.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
I mean, it touched, I was doing this gesture, but it was coming from a real place. It touched my heart, touched my soul, it touched my mind. And what they were sharing tonight was just simply amazing. We say that every Saturday night, but I mean, truly every Saturday night we are taken to so many different places, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And it's just, sometimes I have no words, and that's usually the moments where I should just be quiet and take it in and feel it.
Well, you were on screen with them. You had questions for all of them, Howard, and they were great questions.
Thank you.
Did you find those by listening to them in their first? A lot of it referenced their first matches. Did you go back and rewatch those?
A combination of all of that. I've been fortunate to kind of, during the course of our week, we know who the competitors are. So I'll watch some videos, I'll watch some interviews. Their first, like I said it when I was live, what Mick Garris shared, about Costello, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I mean, that was such a great, discourse on horror and that time frame. So it's, it was a combination of all that, that really allowed those questions to kind of, come to fruition. And I'm a huge horror fan. So, what's
your favorite horror movie?
It always comes down to the original. I mean, Halloween to me, it's just, what do you have one?
You think that was the very first horror movie ever made?
Not the first one. But definitely started. It really started pioneering a lot of particular. Introduced some new concepts to the horror genre, which I think can be refuted.
So you want to go back and watch any of the black and whites, like Nosferatu, or some of the older films that you may not be considering?
Well, those are good, Giselle. Okay, those are good films. All right. But I'm trying to make a case for the fact that Halloween took those films and went a little more forward with.
But you called it the original, and it's not.
Well, it's kind of like, I put it this way. I feel like what Halloween did for the horror genre is what Nirvana did for pop music. All right. That band took so many things that, what was happening in the underground and said, bam, here you go. Halloween, okay, took so many different elements from past generations and said, bam, here you go. Here's the new face of horror is here. That's my point. That is my point.
That is your point. Well, yeah. We have to get into tonight's match. First, we had Mick Garris and this fantastic topic, and everything he says is so beautiful and so giving and so generous, and you can tell how much he cares about people and about the art of filmmaking. it comes out so much. It's beautiful. And then
what you really have to focus on, Giselle, is the fact that Mick Garris is a man who he's a triple hitter. I mean, he's a writer, he's a producer, he's a director. I mean, God, what can this guy do? You know? Giselle, is there a reason you're giving me that look?
I just don't know why you cut me off. I don't think that's very professional, and we saw a lot of professionals this evening.
We did. We also saw some very passionate people who also, cut each other off when they were passionate about something. So I'm sorry, I was passionate about something.
Yeah, I think you were passionate about hearing your own words.
Oh, okay. If you want to go there, no, I don't like to just hear my own words, Giselle. I'd like to actually discuss and really take in.
Then why can't you look at me right now?
Well, because I'm trying
to everywhere but me.
Okay, I'm trying to collect my thoughts, Giselle. Right, and you do not rush me when I'm trying to conduct my thoughts, please. Okay.
I'm not rushing you. I'm just asking you to look at me so I can see your face. Otherwise, I'm going to think you're disinterested. And therefore, again, what you think is more important than us working together as an ensemble to articulate, to analyze what we saw this evening, which was magic.
Sure. Yes, it was definitely magic. Yeah.
What was this little head nod?
Well, look, I still don't like the fact that you just cut me off and you're trying to dictate to me where my eyes can go.
I cut you off. You cut me off first.
Tomatoes.
Not tomatoes. Facts.
Okay, I don't like people necessarily telling me where to look or not to look. Okay, if I want to look
down. You're looking down. I can't see your face, so I don't know if I can believe what you're saying.
Sometimes you gotta take a beat. All right?
Okay. Take that beat and let me see it. The audience wants to see it. The engine wants to see it. The engine wants to know what you're thinking, and they can't know what you're thinking.
Okay. All right. Look. Let's just be honest about this, Giselle. Every time we are on, it's like it's hit or miss, man. It's really hit or miss. And yes, you're smart. We all know it. Okay, but sometimes maybe you like the sound of your own voice, Giselle. You ever thought of that? Huh?
Why do you think I am never the first one to jump in? You know that.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Giselle, you're always the first one to jump in. I mean, we could go back to the videotape. Hey, we see it all the time.
You tonight, starting with the pow pow pows, which was so over the top for a match like this. And I'm not saying it wasn't passionate, because it was very passionate, but it was this lovely river flowing energy, and you came in with guns blazing.
Okay, again, you are trying to dictate to me what my physical behavior should be. If I'm doing this gesture and that gesture, it's because I am blown away. We learn about this. It's nonverbal communication, all right? And telling me where to put my eyes?
If I can't see your eyes, I can't see your nonverbal communication. That's the whole point. So don't talk to me about nonverbals when I can't see your nonverbals.
You want my eyes, Giselle? Here we go.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I really do.
When I make a point, you want me to just... So, Mick Garris is making a great point about the book that he would write. And I really, actually, genuinely did love that. I'm not just being sarcastic here, but as I'm communicating, is this how you want my eyes, Giselle?
That's better. That's a lot better. I can see what's going on in your head and your face now. Yeah. Yeah, I am.
Guys, what do you think? Do you... Again, this thing of control. I want to control where your eyes are. I want to control your energy. I'm sorry.
It's not about control. It's about seeing what you're saying. It's about having everyone know what you're thinking and how it affected you. I can't do that if you're like this.
Okay, I'm sorry. Look, sometimes I'm not going to have words. Sometimes I'm Dominican. I move my body, okay? Look.
Move your body, not your head.
I'm going to move my body. I'm going to move anything I want to move when I need to speak from my heart, from my corazón, from my soul, from my alma, coño.
But I can't see what that is if I can't see your face.
Maybe I don't want you to see my face in that moment. Maybe it's
why
not
are you on screen?
Yes, I understand that, but maybe it's not about face. Maybe it's about finding the words, okay? Maybe it's about finding the moment, the emotion. Giselle, you know me.
Look to the side. Let the audience know you're still there with them.
Okay, Giselle, you know me, and you know that I have sometimes difficulty trying to find the right words. We were talking about this morning, this afternoon, right? And when I'm talking, when I'm trying, even it's happening even now. And I can see it in your face. I can see it in your face. You probably enjoy this. I know you do. I know you do. Because what happens, Giselle, and I'm sure our audience probably relates, right? I've always felt like a freaking idiot. I always have. I feel like a freaking idiot, and I always have to compensate by trying to make something sound, more smarter than it is. And then I tell myself,
no, compensate. Don't try. Just keep it successfully simple.
Yeah, but you judge me. You judge me. I know you do. I know you do.
Why would you think that?
I see it in your eyes. See, the thing about you, Giselle, is you're a great storyteller. And you're great at subtlety. And there are moments where you wink your little eyes and you're like, what the hell is this guy saying? Right? I know you do. You have those moments. I know you do. So don't just sit here and tell me like you don't have those moments and you don't judge. Come on. You judge
I will hold you to a professional standard. I'm not judging you as a person.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Why not?
I think you do. I think you do. I think there is a
professional standard scares you?
No. That's fine. We all got to hold each other to a certain standard. But I think you go a little deeper than that. I think you make a judgment on Howard. Why?
Why?
Because I have my flaws, Giselle.
We all do.
Oh, I know. We all do, right?
We all do.
There's a difference between accepting someone's flaws and then judging them based on those flaws. And I think that is what you do.
Oh, so I've never tried to work with you with your flaws and find a way to help you. One of your favorite words here, compensate for them, or find ways to work around those perceived flaws, or find ways to communicate better with you and figure out where your brain is so that we can complete all of the tasks that need to happen.
You do that, perhaps, in moments.
More than moments.
But you do it with a little sting of judgment.
Howard, I'm in New York.
Look what he's saying. Interesting. Howard, don't let Giselle do this to you.
Do what?
Oh, you see?
That doesn't sound like a very good, that doesn't sound like a very peaceful comment, Pete. I'm not sure you are as peaceful as you say. I have a good poker face, do I, Julio? Howard's gone off the deep end of the pool. Do you have a response to that, Howard?
Pierre Kelly, first of all, thank you for your comments. But with that particular comment, I'm sorry, I'm not going off the deep end. Okay, Pete knows exactly what I'm talking about. This is what Giselle does.
Does he? Then why won't he say it?
He's scared. He's scared. Giselle,
he needs to be, because we still have something coming up. We have some unresolved issues. He needs to be scared of me. Eric, what does that mean? I thought we were on a new course, Howard. Howard, what is Eric referring to here?
Eric, I'm speaking my mind. I'm speaking my heart. I'm sorry. I'm never going to apologize for that. This new course, what new course are you talking about?
I'm not asking you to apologize for that, but clearly you have to know what Eric's talking about. He thought we were on a new course. What kind of new course? Did something change in you?
He thought I was just going to let by. You know what this new course is?
No, I don't. That's why I'm asking.
That's what they expect. Howard not to speak his mind. And I.
Who expects that? That's exactly why TKN is here. That is what we do. We bring people together from different walks of life Everybody has a voice. Everybody has a platform. We heard it tonight, and now it is time. Guys, we have to announce our winners.
Let's go. Woo! Hell yeah! All right. I just want to take a moment and congratulate these amazing luminaries we had on tonight. All right. Mick Garris, congratulations. You are the man. Ahman Green, congratulations. Round 3. You're getting there. You're going there. Love it. Love it. Jim Brunzell, who, by the way, I share a birthday with. Awesome job. I mean, what you brought tonight to the table was freaking amazing. Amazing, man. Okay, I'm just gonna take a breath, Giselle.
Why would you need to do that? We did, all 3 of them advanced tonight, and that is fantastic. Yeah. I'm thrilled. I don't need to take any breaths here. I don't need to celebrate. That's what I need to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, celebration is definitely warranted. And these, I mean, look,
exactly.
We saw them do an amazing job.
Mm-hmm.
They're on round 3. I'm, you know, what they did was freaking amazing.
I know, that's why I'm excited. They're all still here.
I know. Imagine what they're going to do in round 3. That's the exciting part. I mean,
it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, God, I just want to. Maybe I got a little worked up. So I just want to say something, Giselle, from the heart. Look, everyone knows it. You are a smart, intelligent, fierce competitor, and that can intimidate me sometimes. So I just want to say, I hope they smoke you in round 3.
That's great coming from someone who's still in round 2. and has the face of his show in the balance still.
I knew that.
You think I'm not worried about everybody in round number 3?
I know, it's too much.
I'm not worried about that. I have no idea what my competition is like. Here, week after week. I see all of them. I know exactly how tough this is going to be for you.
You're so intimidated by
You have to get through round 2 first. You have to face AW. You have to face Kelly on the black box. You can hope they smoke me all you want. You still have to get there.
You are shivering in your bed.
You think so? You really think so? You really think so? Really? Says somebody still in round 2. Somebody who hasn't even had his match yet. Somebody whose very show hangs on the balance, who might eliminate his friend and brother from this tournament so early. Howard, you're going to hope anyone smokes me because you're not where I'm at yet.
You're a scared little girl inside. Just admit it.
Avi Klein, get him off screen now. No, this has nothing to do with being scared.
Obsession's going to be talent every time. You got all the talent in the world, but are you obsessed? Is it all you ever think about?
If the computer was not a personal item that each person could own, then it would have been like big business. They would have been the ones to control it, and that's really what made it special and amazing and more boutique.
And I really respected his work, and I thought my whole thing as an actress was to keep working with better and better people, because then, obviously you learn more as an actress, and you become more relaxed, and it's just it's a good experience for actors to work with professionals.
I don't have seizures like on a regular basis. In fact, I haven't had one in almost 2 years. But I don't like to see people afraid of living their lives. I mean, I'm in front of thousands and thousands of people on a daily basis, and some people are afraid to leave their house because, they never know if that's going to break down. The other side of cantina. I have to go where he was like. Come on, put him up, put him up. Yeah. Come on, put him up, put him up. Say you ain't. Put him up, put him up. Break it down. It's the funky Comadina. Put him up, put him up. Say you ain't. Put him up, put him up. Yeah. Put him up, put him up. Break it down. Yeah.
And most of all, Duke was founded by tobacco money, okay? Cannon Duke made his money in the tobacco game. So Duke's whole existence is based on the desecration of America's lungs. Okay. That's mine, okay?
That's the creation of America.
Play basketball when you smoking them bogeys, okay?
For anything, because I feel like over time, you know, I got the best of both worlds. But for my parents at the time, particularly my mother, my white mother, it was tough on her. You know, having not only just, you know, her parents were like real old school, you know, racist Irish, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, much less her dating a black guy. When she came home and told them that she was pregnant by the black dude, you know, they threw her out the house. Like, they disowned her.
Wow.
When the fallacy of colors was pointed out to me, you know, I could see a cat when I was a kid have a kittens and he'd have a black one, a white one, an orange one, or whatever. Or a dog can have puppies. It can be a black dog have a white puppy, a brown puppy, a black puppy. A horse can have a colt. A horse could be a white horse and have a brown colt. So that's what I thought we were, you know? So once that was established, I thought that moment was the stupidest moment that I could ever think of, because how could you hate each other for colors you're really not?
That's right.
Yeah. The white guy would come out, and now, all rise. Why do white singers, when they start singing, they tippy-toe a little bit? You ever see that? For the singing of your national anthem.
Didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, so I just enrolled back in summer school, started learning, started figuring out what I wanted to do, which led me to go in sports education, and also started being around basketball, which kind of led me to where I am right now, honestly.
I just fell for anything he said, and cost myself a lot of money, and gave myself a lot of sleepless nights because of my anger that would build over the unfair business practices that he used. It was tough to get over that, and that's why I wish I could have had the second chance.
This and this, but we're going to let you go back to work. Him coming back to work, I gravitated right to him and struck up a conversation. He loved Jake Roberts. Okay, let's talk about what's happening, man. And I was put there by the good Lord, I think, to help him. And I can honestly say that I haven't heard of him getting in trouble lately.
We're talking, how long has the style of Elvis's music lasted? How long with the youth? How long's the style of the Beatles music lasted with the youth? It's still rap music, it's still hip hop, it's still the same basic thing. Whereas the evolution of music in other categories has really branched out and become different things.
Mick Garris had always remembered me from that audition, from when I tested for Sleepwalker, and he convinced Stephen King to give me an opportunity to step in and audition for it. So I came in and auditioned for it. He believed that I had the chops to play the character, and they rolled the dice on me.
White coach by the name of Keith Crow, and I got to play for him for 1 year. But he felt like I was not a good basketball player and thought that I would never be a good basketball player. So I sat on the bench and I got to play 1 minute that whole year.
We played baseball, we played football, whatever was in season we played. And I took a liking to football. And I played defensive end, and I got away from football on my first game. They swept my end and swept me away, and that was the end for me.
You can say that it was financial in some cases, but anytime that you look at the situation, the controversy of the North and the South fighting and they both had slaves, at least people had servitude in the North.
That is man's control over man. How far can this go before the very people that are being made to be afraid or controlled rebel?
But they know at the end of the day, Sherry has their back. Where we come from, your girl rides or die with you. So that's what we were trying to implement to the public. This was a team, all three of us.
I grew up with Debo in my house. My brother was the real live Debo. So everybody was afraid that if they, mess with me, that my brother was gonna kick their ass.
I grew up in the Leave It to Beaver era, and so all dads drove. And yet in my family, my dad never drove. My mom did all the driving. My dad got up every morning in Minnesota and walked 2 miles to work every day and 2 miles home.
Handed me the script. She said, take this back and the whole script and read it tonight.
Wow.
Within an hour, they offered me the part, and it was a sought-after part. Everybody in California was going after that role.
Yes, my junior year of high school, I went to my guidance counselor to get advice about college choices. And he said I wasn't a good enough player to play at a major college. I just remember that really motivated me my senior year to work as hard as I could on the court and also continue what I was doing in the classroom.
The former Georgetown star would enjoy his best seasons in Oakland before being traded to Houston.
But the spark of originality is something that is not connected to information. It's not unconnected to information, but it is not caused by information.
He said, I'm going to try to keep this class together as a company, but we're sort of one character man short. So he said, we'll cut back on your teaching, and would you just sort of shadow Group 1 through their senior year, act in the plays with them, and then when we found the company, you'll be a member of the company for that first season at Good Shepherd Church, behind Juilliard, and then the first tour to Philadelphia.
Came over, I forget when they were talking to him, and he told me Pete Townsend took him aside and gave him words of advice and said, and Pete Townsend's a hell of a guitar player also.
Like I said, we got trained by really some of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and it's an honor to have learned that, and that's what kind of style we came up with. And it was kind of different style. It wasn't because the Road Warriors had their style, but we weren't like the Road Warriors. We were the power slams and all that stuff, and we got into just being like rowdy and like we're barroom fighting or something. You know what I mean? So
add on to, I'm an astronaut now. I can go into space. I can land on the moon. That imagination and those limitations were taken off of us at that time in that generation.
After that, lost my marriage, and as most couples do, when you go through that. So you look at that as kind of being a chapter where you kind of see and think to yourself, what type of resilience do you have? And having my girls was great. Having family is great.
Woody Page.
Dude, Stan freaking Hansen gifted that green ticket. Hi, Kelly White. We're seeing him again. I am. Like, do you see that? No, Stan Hansen, the original. Jamie Yellow's a favorite. Modeled his career on Stan Hansen.
On the 16th Amendment.
Hansen. This one's going to be tough. This one's going to be tough. Oh my goodness. I can't believe. I think where this was going to go, and I'm freaking thrilled.
Page is going to decimate because my